All right. This is Brian's favorite song ever right here. Hey! 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 It is time for the Macho Wrestling Show, where the cream rises to the top of wrestling conversation.
Dig it.
Yeah, you got to get the fingers going for that. And anyway, so this week in the Macho Wrestling Show, we don't want the music bed playing, so we should be in good shape there. But anyways, this week we talked about okay, so next week, let's just go ahead and set it up. It was requested that we talk about the finger poke of doom. But I think there's a lot more stuff, because if we're going to talk about the finger poke of doom next week, we've got to start all the way back at Halloween Havoc before that Starrcade, right?
What, we're talking about 97?
We're talking about 97 in WCW. That Halloween Havoc set the stage for the finger poke of doom, because the most popular guy besides Goldberg in WCW was Diamond Dallas Page. Mm-hmm. And Diamond Dallas Page should have won. And we talked about it last week. The screen goes black. Nobody sees what took place. They left everyone in suspense except for the people in the stadium. Now, was that Halloween Havoc in Atlanta?
No, it was, I think, Vegas.
Okay. So unless you were in the stadium, you had no clue what took place. But we'll get into that next week. This week, we're going to talk about referees and how modern referees don't sell the match the way they should. Corey and I watched Crown Jewel, and I know we've harped on this now for 3 weeks, Corey and I have.
There was nothing good about it.
And watching Crown Jewel, I noticed something about modern wrestling that I do not like. Whenever we were watching WWF Raw on a Monday night, it didn't make a crap if it was Monday night, if it was a dark match, if it was early SmackDown, the dog is pissed. This is why your asshole should stay the fuck out of my house. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Corey. He pisses my dog off.
I can't help it, your dog's honoring.
But anyways, so Mike Tenay, Earl Hebner, who else was was it Mike Tenay? Mike Chioda, that's right. And
Nick Patrick, Jack Doan. I remember Stacy and Tori rolling over him God knows how many times.
So, but let's look at Earl Hebner. He was the chief referee in the Attitude Era for WWF. Mm-hmm. Earl Hebner sold the match.
Just with his facial expressions.
Think about it. Earl Hebner would be in the corner, and there would be a pin, a roll-up pin, and Earl Hebner would dive across the ring, and think back to the Triple H Jericho match where Hebner was forced to reverse his decision. He sold the match. Mm-hmm. That's one of my issues with modern wrestling right now, with what's going on in wrestling in its current incarnation, is I watched AEW this week. Those refs are doing a better job selling the match than WWE refs. WWE, I get it's the age of COVID. They're trying to maintain, the space and all that stuff.
When you have 20, 30 people in a given hour, 2 hour period rolling around on a match.
Right.
If they're going to get sick, they're going to get sick.
Correct. But get in there. Get that show. I mean, if the referee's excited, the people are excited. Mm-hmm. If the referee just so the lady we watched in the Hell in a Cell match,
nonchalantly, like she had better places to be.
Yeah. So you got Edge rolls up Seth Rollins, and she just walks over and goes, "Oh, okay. Oh, no, it's 2 count." 2. She was so not into it. But if you would have had Earl Hebner, he'd have been, jumped over in there and
go down for that 3 count and stop.
Yeah, and stop right at the 3 and jump up with 2 fingers up, and letting everybody. You don't have that anymore. Referees sold the match. Think back to Hart versus Austin. Okay,
Shamrock.
Well, but that match ended in Austin passed out. Okay, mm-hmm. Who sold that match? It was sure Steve Austin's bleeding, but it's that referee sitting there, getting the look of, oh God, he's getting ready to go out. That's what sold the match. And I think that's one of the elements that they're missing in modern wrestling.
Just totally switching promotions here. When Goldberg won the title, when he got Hogan up for the jackhammer, look at Charles Robinson, his face.
Right.
I mean, yeah. And then the only other one that I can think of that did it that well was Randy Anderson.
Where was he at?
WCW.
Okay.
Tiny man. He's
No,
like,
okay, yeah.
God rest his soul, but he was like 5'2", 5'3", maybe $115 soaking wet, but still, he got into the match.
To me, you've got to have a dedicated referee to the match, because that ref, he's selling that match just as much as those wrestlers are.
Mm-hmm.
And
then, like, going back on the selling the matches, like Earl, we'll go with Earl. Back when Earl was a thing, oh, there's somebody holding the ropes, he 1, 2, he sees it, he'll walk over and tell you something, and he'll kick your arm,
right?
But
you don't have that with modern referees. Modern referees, that they seem to be so out of touch with the match that it's almost unbelievable. To wrestle, there's a psychology to wrestling, okay? Because it is. Okay. No grown man in the world. It doesn't matter who you are. If I pin you to the ropes and you let me punch you 10 times in the face, you're going to leave with a black eye. Okay? Just period, the end. No grown man in this world is going to be able to walk away. So we all know that, okay, yeah, wrestling's put on. It's the psychology. It's to look like. And that referee should be selling the match. And they're not right now.
Everyone's phoning it in. It's not worth watching.
I think that's the issue with WWE right now, is it does feel like every person on the roster is phoning it in. I feel like, as we were just talking before we came on, 18 people were released. Who the hell knows? If you're at WWE right now, who the hell knows if they're secure or not in their contract? Bray freaking Wyatt.
Which supposedly he was being hard to get along with at the end.
And then,
but
Strowman, he went, he's not as big of a name, but like Strowman, he went from 1 week beforehand, world title picture.
Right.
Boom, gone.
Yeah, but you've got the guy selling the most merchandise. The Fiend merchandise was going out the door as quick as it could. And we release him? How's that smart? So why would you feel secure? If you're a referee, if you're a man putting the ring up at WWE right now, why would you feel secure?
A lot of the people too, I've heard the talent and the people who work there are frustrated because they
they're frustrated.
They want their if you go in there and you be like, I want to do this, and they're like, no, instead of going out there and trying to play like a big bruiser, I need you to put this tutu on and dance around and throw fairy dust at people. Yeah, you're not really gonna like that. You'll do what you can to make that work. Look at Goldust. Look at people like that. They did a damn good job of doing what they did.
Right.
But after so long.
But Goldust enjoyed what he did when he was doing it.
But yeah,
I think he'd have to like doing that.
That's a different.
Like you said, go back to the Godfather. Godfather didn't really care much for.
He didn't care much for the Kama Mustafa character, and there was another character,
Papa Shango.
He said the Good Father hated the Good Father. But my point is there's a psychology to wrestling, and you've got, as a wrestler, you've got to sell what you're doing, and as a referee should be working just as hard, because they're a pivotal part of that match. You and I have been to wrestling training, okay? And one of the things that you got to do is you're communicating with the person you're wrestling with. You're communicating with the ref. All right. Whoever the senior in the ring is, it could be the freaking referee. They're the one calling the match. They're the one telling you what to do as you go through it. And, they've got to help sell that match. They're a pivotal part of it, just like the announcers are. And, it's like everybody there is phoning things in right now.
The first time I actually went to a live show, and me and John went to the AEW show a few years back. It was so weird because when you're in the arena, you don't hear the broadcasters.
Right.
And it's just like, it just seems so weird to watch wrestling without hearing the play-by-play.
Good old JR, Excalibur.
Yeah.
And I know we're focusing right now on referees, and we were talking about in AEW, they have Aubrey Edwards. Is that right? Yeah. And she can sell a match.
And
I've watched her in action. She is selling
She's not
the hell
afraid
out
to
of that
get
match.
in there and do what
Right.
she
There's
needs to do.
one other one. It's,
And-
give me a second. His name will come to me.
But they've got an excellent coach at AEW. They've got Earl Hebner himself
Mhm.
coaching
You
the
gotta
referee
You gotta
staff.
get in their face.
Yeah, and then
you
you
know.
I think
No,
Brian.
no, no,
I think
no.
Brian Hebner
He's
refs
an Impact.
in Impact. So
And you know, that's I'm not just necessarily saying the Hebner family puts out the best referees, you know, but to be honest, it's a complete. The referees need to go back and watch some of the stuff from the Attitude Era, and even from, if you want to go all the way back to Hogan versus Andre, go back and watch those refs at that time
Mhm.
and institute that style of refereeing, because you've got to be, if you're a referee and you're in pro wrestling, it doesn't matter if you're in a small territory, if you're working Anarchy up here in
Clarksville.
Mud Creek. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make a crap where you're at. You're part of selling the match.
Yeah, you're just as important as the ring is.
mhm.
And yeah, as anyone in that ring, it doesn't matter if you're not the person
Your
who's
talent
catching
as well.
heat or being the if you're the heel, you're the face. It doesn't matter. You're the referee. You're a pivotal part of that
Yeah.
match. And you know, act like it.
Mhm.
I think that's the thing that we're missing out on right now with pro wrestling. Period. The end. It does. I mean, as AEW's got some that they're doing better than WWE is. You don't have, as I said, you don't have Earl Hebner bouncing around there anymore. And to me, that's it's a bad thing for wrestling. It's a bad thing for where we're at in wrestling, because I'm just saying that sells a match. Why do people bounce up to the edge of their seat? You know, when that referee lunges across the freaking ring to do a quick 2 count or, you know, a 3 count, whatever he's trying to get there,
Mhm.
you believe that actually happened organically, not that it was set up. When you've got the girl like we've seen at Crown Jewel who just meanders over and she nonchalantly counts, you know, oh, that's a 2. It's 2. You know, there's no excitement to that. And even the crowd was unexcited by that match.
Yeah, I mean the secret police.
Yeah, the crowd should never
left
be
and right.
unexcited of a Hell in a Cell match.
The crowd should never be unexcited.
in a match
Look,
period, but you know,
anywhere, it doesn't matter. Look, we've all been to something like Anarchy. I think all of us here have been to a small promotion before. You can get some real excitement
Mhm.
in small promotions, even though you don't have a damn clue who these people are. You're not invested in them. You can get excited by it because the match is selling. It's about the wrestling. Sure, they may come out and run their mouth. They may cut a promo or two, but it's about the fact that you know, it's organic. It looks organic to you. It doesn't look organic right now on
No.
TV, and
Yeah.
they're failing at that.
and like, you know, it's if you talking about the pivotal things with the referees doing like into the action. It's like, you know, you said, oh, there's that cover, there's the 1, there's the 2, and oh
Right.
no, it's just a 2, and then they get in the face of the referee
Right.
and they argue, and the referee's at 2.
Yeah.
know?
That you don't have that anymore.
Yeah,
It's
you don't
some.
see them
You do
forcing
some.
back the rules on, you know, the rules.
Right.
On
And
them.
Bryce Rimsberg was the other referee I was trying to think of. Little bald guy that keeps hugging Ruby Soho.
Right. Well, I mean, but if you think back, and I know every single one of us is aware that there were different rules for different organizations. NWA rules, if you went over the top rope, you lost, stuff like that. You know, it doesn't matter what the rules are. The referee sells it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know, what made some matches great? Think back to Rock Austin. You know, if it weren't for the fact that Earl Hebner was laid in the corner for half of those matches where he got whacked over the head with a steel chair by accident, you know, those matches wouldn't have sold as well as they did. They wouldn't have been as big a deal. And I just point out that the referee is a pivotal part of John's
his
busting
girdle off.
loose. But
busting out over there.
but no, the referee's a pivotal part of the match, and they need to start honoring that tradition again. That's just my stance on it.
Well, another thing you don't really see a lot of, or at least I haven't, is the special guest referee. You know,
Well, I think that's
where you like, oh, you know, you guys are in this title match, and so is this other person. But that other person, he's going to be there. That's the spoiler, you
right.
know?
Mhm.
Yeah,
You don't see that drama.
you
anymore
don't,
so
but there's a
much.
lot of stuff you don't see right now.
Or you have a celebrity guest or something.
There's
you
a
know?
list that came out by oh god, I forgot his name. The guy with Wrestling Illustrated.
Mm.
Meltzer.
Yep, Dave Meltzer. came out and said that there's certain match types they should never have again. A buried alive match was one of them. Some of the best matches I've ever watched were buried alive matches. He said you shouldn't do them because Taker's gone. It's Taker's specialty. I disagree. Casket match was in that list. Inferno match. You know, you probably couldn't do an Inferno match today because
cinematic. What, like when the Fiend versus was Orton?
And you had one with the Orton, and then you had
it was
Strowman.
Orton versus the Fiend, and where like Orton burns the Fiend,
right?
You know, like I said, it was all cinematic mostly. I mean, the match was my match, but all the like Fiend, like Bray would be laying in the ring, his arm on fire, and Orton covers him with gasoline and throws a match on him, and then it cuts from the Orton and cuts back to the Fiend. You can clearly see it's not actually, it's
right.
And if you look right, it's going to sound weird, but if you look between Orton's legs, you can see the top of Bray Wyatt's head. It's like, really, come on, you could have dug down another 2 inches.
do better, folks. Come on.
But like I said, like cinematic matches, yes, buried alive,
Well, okay, so
because it's going to be hard for a buried alive match. Like Randy Orton, he wears
right
wide things,
He wears underwear.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to have him in that match wear like a sweatshirt or something and have it get caught on fire.
Look, you don't go throwing Randy Orton in an Inferno match. You didn't throw Steve Austin in an Inferno match. Right. You threw Kane and the Undertaker. So you're telling me at no time in the future ever again are they going to build 2 behemoths like that again? How dumb would that be?
Possibly not to the same extent to where they were that over.
You had the Fiend, who was right there on the cusp of that, could have done that.
He did do it. Like I said, he did do it.
No. Could have done the Undertaker thing.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, you've got to have somebody.
Well, there it wasn't the Fiend though, but Bray Wyatt had a feud with the Undertaker back with the Wyatt family.
Okay,
him and Kane. It was I think it was
some Mania
Wyatt
match.
Wyatt and was it Harper or was it Rowan? Was it after Harper left for the AEW?
I think it was Harper.
Okay, versus Kane and the Undertaker and stuff. There were some good matches,
Yeah, but I mean, okay, if we're looking at everything, we're looking at it empirically. Okay, refs sell matches, but different style matches also are a big deal. You need different style matches. Everything can't be
singles match, no disqualifications.
Right, correct.
Blah, blah, blah.
And at some point, you've got to be inventive. I think it was Vampiro and Sting.
What that?
Had a match. It was it was like in a graveyard or something.
Yeah, and then for some reason he was the Kiss Demon, and
it was a weird setup.
Well, and then again, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, the death of WCW. Right. Vince Russo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's some truth to Vince Russo being the great killer of WCW, but I mean, those style matches. I mean, look, one of the best matches I've ever seen in my life. Rock, Mankind, empty arena match.
Oh yeah.
And
it was a good match.
And it was an I Quit match, if you remember.
I quit.
Yeah, and you're right. That was the ending. The referee sold the match. It was not the Rock and Mankind that sold that match. It was the referee for believing that an audio tape was Mick Foley screaming "I quit."
I mean, technically, it was.
It was, but
Just
I mean,
moment.
it was from Mick cutting a promo the week before. Going, "You'll never get me to say I quit."
I quit. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
then they beat the shit out of each
then,
other
like, some of
around
those-
the arena.
Well, I'll tell you another match style that was really pretty good. We'll go back to AEW. They had the Stadium Stampede match. They had 2 of them. You've beat the shit out of each other in this damn stadium.
Right.
The first one was the Inner Circle versus
the Elite.
The Elite.
Matt
Hardy.
this predates any of us, but Dusty Rhodes and Harley Race.
Bunkhouse Brawl.
No, this was back in AWA.
Oh shit!
Had a match, and it was an empty arena match.
Mm-hmm.
And what had happened was the match never took place. The match never happened, and Harley Race comes dragging in after the match starts, and he's beat the shit out of. And this goes back to the psychology of wrestling. He, looks like he's been beat the shit out of. This is back when like newspapers covered, sports, sports columns and local papers covered what took place at, the Superdome or whatever that. What was the one in Texas? Everybody always went to
Texas Stadium.
Was it Texas? I thought it was like the Athletodome or something like that. It was
Sportatorium.
Sportatorium. That was
Dallas
it.
and Von Erichs.
Yep. Okay, and I actually think that's where it was at. It was the Sportatorium, if I'm not mistaken. And Harley Race comes in looking like he's been beat the shit out of, and then you've got all these people who were there to watch the match. Oh, I seen a man jumped him as he was getting out of the car. Nothing ever happened, but it was that the people are people. It's the psychology of wrestling.
The
That
belief of it.
right? I seen him get the shit beat out of him. He walks in and falls out, and Dusty Rhodes pins him, wins the title. I mean, that was how quick that went down, and you don't have that. We don't have that happen anymore. It's like Austin getting ran over by the car. Rikishi was an
I did it
afterthought
for the Rock.
Yeah, but he was
for the people.
Shut the hell up, you thong wearing fatty.
Yeah, but he was an afterthought in that. It was not that Rikishi was the guy who was going to.
He went from being too cool mid card
right
to
a heel
main event,
in the main event,
status.
right? And it just first off, it didn't work. It didn't go over like it should have went over. But I'm just saying, I mean, that style stuff. I mean, and there were people everywhere. They seen it happen when Vince McMahon killed himself.
Yeah.
Everybody's seen it happen. Oh, he's really dead. It was on national news. How come wrestling today can't get back to that point? How come they can't do something that gets that type of attention that nobody knows if it was real or if it wasn't?
Because of all the smart marks.
You think so?
Yeah. It's
Social media, stuff like that.
There was social media when Vince McMahon's limo blew up.
But there's no surprise element to it anymore. Everybody has to be in the know. They have to know what's going on. They always have to. Yeah. I mean, you can't just when it comes to people coming into AEW, and I'm going to show a little favoritism here. I don't care. But when it comes to AEW, I don't want to know who's coming in. I want to be surprised. When it comes to WWE, whether it be coming from NXT, New Japan, whatever.
Ohio Valley, wherever. Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, they're here. What the fucking do?
Yeah, the thing with AEW,
it's always been the thing with wrestling too. They'll try to keep things secret, but you'll never be like, oh, I didn't expect this.
Well, that's like, okay, let's just go back. Someone who everybody here at this table likes, Chris Jericho.
Let me interrupt you.
Go ahead.
A second first. When Brody Lee died, nobody knew shit about it for 2.5 months because the entire AEW roster knew.
Right.
Out of respect for John Huber, they didn't say anything.
Right.
And that, I mean, first thing I saw, I texted Brian, like, did you see this shit? Nobody knew what the hell was going on.
Right.
But he died, boom.
Yeah, well,
well, I'll tell you one secret they are keeping. Benoit.
Kevin Sullivan did
I
it.
heard something
They'll
along the
talk about
lines
that
of like Benoit's not like banned anymore.
Well, Vince
why
McMahon
would he
said
be? He's
Vince
dead.
McMahon. Okay,
I mean, no, like they won't like mention him or show clips or anything of him on WWE.
Vince McMahon said someone had asked Vince McMahon. I believe it was actually Howard Stern asked Vince McMahon not long ago, "Would you ever induct Benoit into the Hall of Fame?" And he said, "Hell no."
Well,
and I agree.
He wasn't. He didn't. He's not that material.
He killed his wife and his kid.
Well, he wasn't that good either.
It doesn't matter. Do you induct?
Then why in the hell is Coco Beware in the Hall of Fame?
I'm saying, but there are things you can do that cause a mark against you that'll never. Pete Rose will never be in the Baseball Hall of Fame because of the fact that he cheated.
Mm-hmm.
He was great. Pete Rose was great, but he cheated.
Yeah.
Okay, there are things that you could do that cause a mark on you that make it to where you're never going to get to the Hall of Fame. Period. The end. When you check out the way Benoit checked out, guess what? You shouldn't expect
immortalizing
to be all right. I mean, it's too bad. You fucked up, even if it was in a moment of frustration or craziness or whatever. Too bad. You ruined your life. Literally, in his case. But back to my point with what I was saying about the surprise of people coming into wrestling. Think back to the Y2J coming in. Nobody really knew who that countdown was for.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody. Mid-August of 99.
Right. Nobody. And I mean, even I love the way that he came in, the Rock's in the middle of the ring, but nobody knew for sure that it was Jericho. There were people who were suspicious because there was like 2 or 3 signs, Raw is Jericho, out in the audience.
Mhm.
But those people are guessing because guess what? You didn't have an announcement that, hey, he's coming in. And he was on Monday, not Monday night, but on WWE Saturday night or Saturday afternoon program that they had back in those days, right before he came on to the show. And
then again, he did in January 2019 with going jumping ship to AEW.
Right.
Nobody expected it.
And, that's the thing is really Jericho should be what we look at because Jericho was a guy who he believed the big leagues were WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the time they were.
They still, in his eyes, they were all the time. That's where he wanted to be.
Yeah, that was the prize.
He wanted to be WWF champion as a kid. Okay. You get there and then you get so frustrated with it that you're willing to go gamble your entire career on a company that may or may not make it. That says a lot about where WWE's at. Well, no. You don't have your camera on, so only we can see the shirt. But
It's a little bit of the bubble.
yeah, my point is that Jericho was a fantastic worker in WWE.
In WCW,
He would do the work.
Should have been kept around.
A mouthpiece. He actually was good in the ring.
He would take the falls. He'd take the wins.
Hell,
Right.
in AEW now, like I said, he's still got the mouthpiece. He's still
Right.
good in the ring, even though he's like 50.
Yeah, he's 50.
And hell, he's a good commentator. He'll sit on commentator.
Yeah, I heard him on Dynamite last week. I think it was, and that was
that thing he was doing with the Men of the Hour that last
Man of the
week.
year.
Men of the year.
So let's get
I
down.
wanna go on Paige Van Zandt's OnlyFans page.
Speaking of OnlyFans,
so let's we had that. We had OnlyFans last night.
no, I was trying to segue into our next topic.
So, anyways, we're going to talk about the women of wrestling and the difference in where we're at today and where we've been. So, if we remember, I think
How far back are we going?
We can go all the way back if you want to. We can go back to Moolah Mae Young and how different women's wrestling was then to where it was kind of a joke.
Yeah. You get maybe a 5-6 minute match.
Yeah, but it was
that.
it was kind of a gag.
Yeah.
And then you move on. I would say that where divas started getting taken seriously would be the Attitude Era or maybe the Ruthless Aggression Era.
Ruthless Aggression, because you could look at Sable.
Right.
Sable
and
and Denver
Sable's
in
the one that
98,
paved the way
99.
for
It
it.
just, she
But Sable
paved the
was
way,
not
but
a
still.
wrestler.
No,
Sable was a valet who wound out wrestling some. And really, if you've got to look for the one that changed everything, it's a tie between Trish Stratus and Lita, because they actually were the first that got in there and wrestled. And Corey, I'm going to kill your cat and the dog.
I'm okay
Just
with
letting
this
you know. I'm going to make you bury them, though.
Okay.
Yeah, homeless it is. So,
Mummified.
but no, it was most likely those two that got us to where we're at today. We've had women wrestling main events at this point now.
We've had main events. We've had Hell in a Cell. We've had
Steel
they're on
cages,
had hardcore, Falls Count Anywhere.
hell. We've had women's matches in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Yeah.
But I have a point to make about women's wrestling today. It doesn't sell like it did in the Ruthless Aggression era. It's not selling like it was then.
No.
Because Trish Stratus and Lita were as over as anybody could get. They were the first to have a main event match, by the way. And you've got to think about again, it goes right back to something we talked about last week. Edge of your seat. Trish Stratus, Lita, every man alive was at the edge of their seat. Right or wrong.
Right.
Yep.
In that era, you didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know. Jackie'd lost her top in a match. You had no clue what was going to happen.
Took her top off at a pay-per-view.
Right.
Lita jumping out of the ring, falling on her head.
Right. You had no clue what was going to happen.
The Edge and Lita sex scene where,
right.
She actually was naked in that.
Yeah. But I go back to, you had no clue what was going to happen. Today, it's almost like it's forced upon you to enjoy women's wrestling, even if it's not a good match. Now, I hate to say it, the best match at Crown Jewel was a women's match. Best wrestling match there was.
Who dropping Zelina Vega or?
It was a triple threat match. It was
Becky,
Becky,
Charlotte, and
Sasha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best match on the entire card.
Yeah. They sold that match.
Right. And it was done well. It was done, something like you would expect out of, I always go back to one of my favorite triple threat matches I've ever seen was DDP, Raven, and Bret Hart. And if you can remember that, I think it was
Spring Stampede.
Yeah. And it was fantastic for the U.S. title. And, very good match. That match reminded me of that. You do not have anyone selling except for Becky Lynch did a fine job in that match.
I'm not a huge fan of Charlotte Flair, but she could put on a show. So
yeah, but I mean, she's got that genetically.
Yeah.
Right.
She's got showmanship in her.
Like the Sasha Banks and Charlotte Flair, where they had that last man standing match a few years back, or whatever.
What, the one in the crowd? Or?
Yeah, where she finished with I think Becky, not Becky,
Charlotte.
Sasha won because she had her in like a submission hold on the actual railing or something. I don't remember, but yeah, like I said, those matches, they put on a hell of a show.
Yeah, they're selling them.
The thing is that all the matches should be sold well. They're not. And that is one of the things I've got to give the women wrestlers over at WWE credit on is they're actually selling the match.
Mm-hmm.
It actually looks like a legit match. It's not a bra and panties match. It's not, in Jello match or any of that stuff.
As a man, I enjoyed those matches, but as a fan
I get it.
Professional wrestling, those matches were just nothing. They were jokes.
Cannon fodder.
They're card filler.
But that's the thing still, even though, I mean, I get it. There are little girls who want to grow up to be pro wrestlers. It's still kind of a gimmicky thing.
Well,
Let's just be honest.
But you don't see anybody now that can match, that could have really gone like toe to toe with someone like China or Beth Phoenix either.
Chris, our good friend Chris, you know who I'm talking about, Tyree.
Mm-hmm.
He says Trish was a babe. I agree.
He's not wrong. Yeah.
But
and what is she now after 2 kids?
I've not
Still
seen Trish
enough.
Stratus in a minute.
She looks the same, except a little bit older.
I seen her the last time I seen her. She had brown hair.
Yeah,
and I do remember that if you remember her Hall of Fame speech, I do remember that her husband, he got some heat for being her husband.
Yeah.
He instantly became a heel in the eyes of all men.
You son of a bitch.
And Tyree says those gimmicks still make money. They make more money than. Hang on, I'm trying to read what you wrote here. Yeah, but those gimmicks still make more money than us. True, that is true. It's making more money than we are. But I mean, you can sign a female talent to WWE for $250,000. Minimum contract for a man coming in doesn't matter if you're bottom of the card, $500,000. No guys making less.
Which that's one thing and here I go back to AEW. Everything's on an even keel. So they say.
Tyrese says now I'm female.
All right, that's it. We're gonna book it.
That's
Brian and Chris Jello match.
I got you, sir.
Jello bra and panties.
There
You
you
sure
go.
you want to put me and him in this match? We'll just eat the Jello.
But
You bra and your panties though.
Tyrese says, "Let's go."
We'll sell on that one.
But
not
the
sleeping
women's
tonight.
matches, then now, yeah, they were over.
And forever.
Yeah, sure, they were over though. That's the thing is that it didn't. Okay, Tori was never like extremely popular.
Hot as hell.
She said, sure,
Oh,
but she could wrestle.
Mhm.
And she had no idea what she was doing. She come in learning.
Well, but by the time Trish Stratus, the people who she would wrestle with, she was already. I mean, she'd been in the business for a minute. Okay, she wasn't new when Trish Stratus and Lita came in. They were new compared to her. I mean, you've got to think she was a veteran by the time they got around in there. And I mean, the Cat, she never really had any previous experience. Stacy Keibler, she was a dancer on Nitro, and
Cheerleader or something like that.
Yeah, Baltimore Ravens cheerleader.
But my whole thing is though, that era, the women wrestlers stood out. Tori Wilson, Stacy Keebler, Victoria,
Jacqueline.
Beth Phoenix.
Yeah.
All of them stood out. There are no shining stars in female wrestling right now.
Well,
I'd say like the two biggest ones right now would probably be like Charlotte Flair and
Becky Lynch.
Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
Sasha Banks. Bailey's outstanding.
But are they over like Trish Stratus? No.
And then if you go outside of WWE,
How many times you've
Baker.
seen them on TV Guide?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is they're not over like those ladies were over. And
Tessa Blanchard's really good.
but they're not over like they were over in the Ruthless Aggression era. And they may be good, but you're not great. And that's the thing right now is there's nobody that's great in wrestling. I can honestly say I will point that out. And if someone has an argument to someone who is quote unquote great, okay, Jericho
Yeah, I was about
being
to
the
say,
exception,
it's-
but Jericho's a holdover.
Mhm.
He's a guy from the Attitude Era, from the Ruthless Aggression era. I don't see anyone who is great in wrestling right now. Do you have a disagreement with that?
What are we talking about? The whole
Does it male, female,
no, I
any of
mean
them?
like wrestling, mouthpiece.
No, as a whole. I mean, who could you see tomorrow? TV Guide calling up and go, "Hey, get on here on the cover."
Aside from Jericho, it would be a niche market.
Omega.
Yeah.
Why would Omega make it? I mean, Omega's not over like Jericho is.
True. He's not, but still, the man can go in the ring. And yes, if hear me out.
I'm
If
listening.
they brought wrestling more into the mainstream than what it is now, Omega would be at the top of the keel. He would be in Bret Hart's shoes from
Kenny Omega will be a heel. Tyree says, unfortunately, I have no input on this. Haven't watched since 2006. But, well, we're going to educate you tonight.
You're not missing.
That's right. Well, that's true. Corey's right. You're not missing a whole lot.
Go back and watch the Crown Jewel
But
pay-per-view.
the thing about, Kenny Omega, here's my stance on Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega can be a Bret Hart character.
Yeah.
He could be an excellent heel that Adam Page goes after for the next 5-6 years. Because Adam Page, if he gets, look, I hate the fact that he comes out and chants cowboy shit. I think it's the stupidest chant I've ever heard. But guess
Is that
what?
he says literally.
Yeah, that's what he has people saying.
Before COVID, he would come out and he'd just take somebody's beer and drink their beer.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
when they'll hand it to him, but
Adam Page has the ability to be as over. Oh, I'm gonna regret saying this as Steve Austin.
in AEW. He is outside of AEW. Nobody knows who the hell. he is.
I agree.
I don't know.
He's got the ability though to be as
He does.
over, because if you can do what Steve Austin did, and I look at Adam Page and I see a lot of crossover between him and Steve Austin. I think that that there's something. I think there's something going there that might work out. But back to the females for a moment. There's not one. There's not one that's standing out. There's a AEW. There's quite a few
We got
that.
the only one that comes to mind is Dr. Britt Baker.
D-
DMD.
But does she stand out?
In AEW, yes. Anywhere else, no.
I mean, that's the issue. There's nobody at Impact. There's nobody at WWE. It's not a good time to be a female wrestler, aside from the fact that you're making money. So, I mean, what has to be done to fix the female division? Does it have to go back to Jello matches?
No, because that'd be way too demeaning, and they shouldn't have to.
So, I don't know. I mean, that's like is being a Playboy model demeaning?
No, I mean I didn't mean that, but like people who actually train to be wrestlers should not have to roll around in Jello.
Jetto.
What the hell?
Jetto.
Jello or pudding.
No one should have
Now,
to
if
know
they,
that.
ended up bringing in, I don't know, somebody off the street who had no idea the
Would you put them
wrist
in?
lock from a wrist watch.
Would you put them in a Jello match?
Tyree says yes. Do exactly what we just said. That'll put it over. I think that you've got to go back a bit and you've got to push the envelope.
You do.
I think you
Big
need more exciting
Jello.
matches.
I mean, the man in me would like to see the Jello, the bra and panties, the evening gown matches.
Look, no, don't say the man in you. Who's watching wrestling? Who's the demographic that wrestling goes after? It is males,
18 to 49.
18 to 49. Correct. Where do you get them back in? You've got to push that envelope. You've got to do that stuff. Sure, it may be according to, we'll go, I hate to tap into the fat, bald, and white show for a moment.
It's unwoke.
It's unwoke. But wokeism has no place in wrestling.
No.
Wrestling is designed to be the white trash soap opera.
Yeah.
That all of us can go. Man, Tyree wants to see men in Jello. Is that what you want? That'll be what does it for you, huh? Well, there you go.
He's learning. He doesn't know what he wants.
So maybe we should have been trying to find him a boyfriend.
But no, I honestly think that you've got to go back to that style of stuff. I think you've got to revert back to a bit of the envelope pushing in wrestling.
Make it unexpected. I mean,
yeah,
more secrets. Don't let the shit out anymore.
That's true. Kayfabe. Yeah. No, I mean, it goes right back to the old locker room. If somebody came in that wasn't part of the lock, kayfabe. Everybody kayfabe. And you've got to go. Oh, Tyree said he was agreeing with the demographic, not that he wanted men. Okay.
Sure.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, Tyrus. But no, we jest. It's all in good fun. You know this. You've been part of the Fat, Bald, and White show. So, but talking about the demographic of the thing with the bra and panties match, sex sells.
Like a Jerry Springer.
Mm-hmm. Along with sex, there's alcohol. Let's about Mox.
Okay. Dude. So we're going to jump over into it. Okay. First, is it shoot? Is Moxley really going to?
He really is in rehab.
So you don't think it's part of the show?
No, because he wouldn't have just taken off like that. I mean, I don't know him personally.
An injury may have,
but within like 3 days,
anything can happen while training.
Very true.
I mean, he goes on hard to the matches. That match with him and that dude with the light. I don't remember his name.
Dude with the light.
Hit him with the fluorescent lights in that.
Oh, Nick Gage.
Yeah.
Hell of a match. No, I honestly think now that he's a father, because Renee Young had a daughter about
whatever, however you say her last name,
6, 8, 10 months ago. Right. Now that he's a father, he's trying to get his shit in order more. So I honestly think that he is in rehab.
Okay.
And I've heard he's had to be a substance abuser a lot. So
I think that for one thing I really didn't like was I watched AEW this week, and I did not like the fact that it was mentioned on TV.
Trying to gain viewership because of that shit.
Yeah, I don't like that.
You think they're gaming it?
Misfortune of others. Let's see if we can.
Well, I mean, it depends on how they did it. Did they do it like respectfully? Like,
yes, CM Punk come out and cut a thing and said he loves to come out here and hear people talk, but they shouldn't be cheering for him. They should be cheering for Moxley, because
it takes guts.
It takes guts. That's good. And then he talks about how Moxley's doing this and better than himself, and then he goes on the spiel about if you need help, reach out to somebody.
Well, I mean, but why did we have to turn wrestling into an infomercial?
What? I mean, it's not really turning into an infomercial. I mean, going back to, I'll save that for a second because
go ahead.
Get into music. Going back to, I don't know, Chester Bennington off of Lincoln Park. If he had actually talked to somebody, maybe it would have helped.
Brian Pillman. If Brian Pillman had seeked help, then maybe he'd have been fine.
Maybe he'd still be here.
Right. Same. You can list. You can list people.
Benoit.
Yeah, Benoit would have seeked help.
I digress.
British Bulldog, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, all
Eddie?
these people.
What about Eddie?
Well, Eddie had a pill problem, but he had a pill problem prior.
He did, but
that's where the heart got damaged. Mm-hmm. The thing is wrestling is a business that too many people check out early. And I listened. I was doing my homework this week, and I listened to Austin and Jim Ross, and on Austin's podcast, and I think that JR phrased it perfectly. That he was told when he first got into the wrestling business to save his money and not to worry about keeping up with the party crowd. And he said that he gave that advice to everyone that came through the door, because he said, if you worry about keeping up with the party crowd, you'll be dead and you'll be broke by the time you're 40. And, Benoit, Eddie, Pillman,
Davey
Mr.
Boy,
Perfect, Davey Boy Smith, the list goes on.
both both Road Warriors are gone.
Yep.
But
Well, I mean,
Hawk, it was 40. Animal,
Andre,
was
but that was more of a health issue.
Yeah, Andre
He
had
was too big
hell,
to
if you can
exist.
drink 48 beers and still walk home.
118 in one setting,
Yeah.
but
Andre was just too big to exist.
It was.
I wonder the Moxley thing. I mean, maybe it's good for him, but I mean, let's just be honest. It shouldn't be part of the program.
No, they should have done like a little disclaimer, like at the beginning of the show.
Sure,
It's,
do the if you need help,
call
right?
this number or something. But
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
But
I'm all
and
for him getting help, but still, yeah.
Well, I
it shouldn't
think
have been
my
part of the
thing
show.
is, yeah, that's good, but maybe they wanted to like Punk to come out and do it, since a lot of people like Punk. So if they hear it from somebody like they look up to or whatever,
And
maybe
he's the whole straight
it'll
edge
hit
thing.
home to them. Oh, this number, it's not worth about. CM Punk like thinks talking about this. It might be something I need to look into.
yeah, but I mean, really, do you think that CM Punk going out and cutting that promo changed anything? I mean, to be honest, I don't think it mattered.
It probably spiked ratings a little bit.
That's what I think it was. The
That
whole
was-
thing was.
And
I
you
mean,
never
that
know.
could have easily been handled by the announcers. Crew.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean JR would have been probably the voice to mention that and move on.
Or Jericho and Mox had that match together. That world title match. Where have Jericho do it.
Why would you have Jericho do it? JR.
It should just been done at the announce table.
Jim Ross has handled tragic events for the past freaking 40 years, and he's handled them well. Why would you not have Jim Ross handle it and move on? You do not need CM Punk out cutting a promo on a guy who's going into rehab. Period. The end. So, and that's our stance on that. My stance. I mean, y'all may be in a different
Maybe
place.
the
but
locker room may have wanted it to be done, like to show support or something to him.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe we don't know how tight knit their crew is.
I don't think. Well, one thing about wrestling, one thing about wrestlers is you ain't never okay. Jim Ross again. I'm going to channel Jim Ross. You're never going to get pro wrestlers to form a union because they can't get together and make decisions. Period. The end. Every single pro wrestler has a different decision, and they're all going to make a different decision, and they're never going to agree on anything. And that was Jim Ross's stance on it.
Okay.
Now, I think that Jim Ross is dead on because you're never going to get two wrestlers to agree. They don't even agree on a finish. Everybody wants to win. That's why you've got bookers telling them, no, you lose here. Because if you left it up to, if I said, hey, Brian and Corey, y'all go have a match, figure out who's going to win, y'all are going to be arguing over who's going to win. That's like human nature, right? I mean, everybody wants to win.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be the loser, unless you're Mick Foley, and then Mick Foley's completely fine with it. And he takes being a loser and turns it into putting himself over. But
Yeah, hit me in the face with that.
right, yeah, hit me again.
Well, you just want to have a clean
Twice.
wrestling match? No, you got to throw me off the cage at least
Right.
3 times.
Mm-hmm.
But as I say, I do not think that the
Match isn't a
wrestlers.
success until I leave on a stretcher.
Right. I don't think they.
Taxing my ass.
I don't think they got together and decided that this was the best plan of action. I think it was Tony Khan told CM Punk, go out, cut this promo.
Maybe.
That's just my stance. That's what I believe. And it was a bad move. Shouldn't have been cut.
So you think they took something that should have been tasteful and turned it tacky?
It should have just been JR, and the simple disclaimer at the beginning and the end, maybe if they really wanted to do it that way. If you need substance abuse help, call this number.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And JR could have, mentioned it in passing because Moxley was scheduled to be in action Wednesday night. And they could have just mentioned that Moxley's decided to seek help.
What is he
JR
seeking help for?
Alcoholism.
Alcohol abuse.
So, and that could have been it.
But they could have handled it a lot worse. They could have,
Yeah.
they could have said, showed footage of him detoxing or something,
Well,
spazzing on the
back
floor.
to Brian Pillman.
They
for a
could have
moment.
done what WWF did with Jake the Snake, where they jammed a bottle of whiskey into his throat and then made him chug half of it.
Right. Or Brian Pillman's wife.
Oh,
I mean, you got to think about that. That was the most distasteful thing I think I've ever seen. And I'm not a person who gets offended easily.
no,
What
but
happened there?
that's
Do what?
What was that?
The day after he died, they had his wife on TV and were asking not they weren't even asking shoot questions. When I say shoot, I mean, honest. They were asking questions about the storyline, the kayfabe storyline to a woman whose husband just died. Do you think that his feud with Austin led to him having, trouble with pills because they were the Hollywood Blondes together and they'd been feuding in '97 a bit. And it was distasteful what they done. And they did the same thing with Gold Dust a few times. It was not a good setup. It was a bad setup for them to go about.
The Varsity Blondes, Pillman Jr. and who's the other guy?
Griff Garrison.
Yeah, they're doing strong in AEW.
Well, there you go.
I don't care if it's
So
over
Vicodin gets in the way.
22 years later. I still think they probably should have at least canceled Over the Edge or given a refund back or something.
I go, okay.
Well,
You're talking about.
Let's save that for.
You're talking about. Well, no, we can, but let's just discuss it
I'm
for a
talking about
moment.
Owen Hart.
Yeah, Owen Hart
I mean,
falls from the sky. Owen Hart came from a family.
I get that, the show must go on,
Right.
but still,
And-
it's not like he was hurt.
He was
He
dead.
was
No.
hurt, but
No,
I'm
it's
sure
not
it
like he
did
had a
hurt.
broken leg or something. He
Right.
was dead in the damn.
As
Rain.
we can get into that later, but I mean, on a deeper level. But I mean, he came from Stu Hart's family.
Same with the Von Erichs. If
Right.
you made the booking, you showed up.
Right. And Stu Hart, who ran Stampede, Stu Hart was a man who firmly believed the show must go on. And to be honest with you, I think that Owen probably believed that as well.
I mean, it could have been worse. It could have been whoever he was facing could have run in and covered him real quick for the 3 count.
So, you're right. It could have went far worse than it did.
Yeah.
I
So-
do have to give them credit though, that turning those cameras away like they did.
Yeah.
Well, first off, they were in it was a promo was being ran right then between him
Pre-tape
and
promo between
Right.
him and Kevin Kelly. He was making fun of Hulk Hogan's shtick.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, if you can hear it in the background, you can hear him yelling.
right.
And I mean, that's the worst part because then it cuts to JR and you can see JR and the King both like.
Well, King was in the ring,
Yeah, but I mean, then he came
Right.
back. He's
Right.
both of them are like ashen white.
And-
It's just
and-
like, oh shit.
Jerry Lawler was the first person to him, and I've heard him multiple times say, "You knew right then." He said at first because Owen's hand was up in an upward position, and he said that he knew Owen was dead whenever he reached over to grab his hand and
Give him a high five.
it didn't move. So, but that's a different that was a different situation than what you got with Moxley. I mean, that was an accidental
Mhm.
situation. Let's talk about music. Okay, the music in the Attitude Era. Was
go back
the-
further. Go back further.
Okay, how far you want me to go back? You want me to go all the way back to American
When
Dream?
When they start
Yeah.
putting music in it,
I mean, it's the first thing that popped in my mind was, of course, Hulk Hogan with American Made, even though
Right.
that was not originally for him. But then, even further back than that, the Road Warriors with Iron Man.
Oh,
Right. Yeah, they well, that's true. They did start
Iron
with,
Man and AWA, and then the NWA with JCP, Jim Crockett Promotions.
Right.
It was all. It has to affect. I mean, you got to have the right music to fit the personality of the wrestlers, so it actually get them over.
well, I mean, and that's
it's part of it.
Yeah,
It's like
we evolved so much. I mean, we evolved from this for Macho Man. I mean, pomp and circumstance for the Macho Man Randy Savage.
Or Ric
You know.
Flair's music.
Yeah.
But that one's timeless. Just saying. I mean, that one is. I mean, could you imagine Ric Flair with other music? And then you go to this.
What up, Macho?
That never, to me, that was just never as over as Pomp and Circumstance was for the Macho Man.
The only thing I
Ventura
liked about that song was the "What up, Mach?"
Right.
Thing. After that, it could have went to Pomp and Circumstance.
Yeah, it's correct. I mean, but my point remains that music is a pivotal part of the psychology of wrestling. It creates the allure to the wrestler from the second they come through that curtain. Really, I mean, I guess it starts in the gorilla position, from that moment on.
Unless you're Goldberg, it starts in your locker room.
Well, that's true. But Goldberg's music, that was a pivotal part of the character.
Yeah. And it was just some random gimme track that
From
TBS,
Time
TNT,
Warner's library,
thank
right?
you,
Yeah.
that they had in storage.
And I mean, it just, that beat.
It worked.
Abram says, "Hell yeah, brothers, looking good." Thank you, Abram. But anyways, I know I am. Oh yeah, gotta get my hair parted right.
Are you Rick Rooting now?
That's right. But no, I mean, music was a pivotal part of the entire experience for any wrestler. Go back to Hogan.
Well, it's part of the person. I mean, it's an extension of them. It's supposed to set the mood for this person.
Mm-hmm.
You're creating a stigma from the second you enter that arena.
Yeah, it's you getting into character
until the second you leave. And I mean, when that music hits, that's not you anymore.
No.
That is that wrestling persona that you have.
Yeah, it's that person.
I'm fond of the Attitude Era. That was when we were kids. I know, nostalgia.
But still.
Right. But
I mean,
the music was done so well. It didn't matter if you were Owen Hart coming out to da-na-na-na, that with the weird industrial sound.
Mm-hmm.
That was good music. It was good music. Shamrock, right. I mean, I'm just saying, good. They had good music all the way around. Today, in wrestling, we have to.
It was also some of the most iconic music.
Right, but it was every person had completely unique music. Now we're just stealing from the radio.
Man,
we've become lazy.
Yeah.
I mean, and we don't have Johnson in there writing songs anymore.
What is it? CFO dollar sign or something?
Yeah, whatever.
Free flow $1.
Free flow $1. But no, I'm serious. I mean, it's like they have completely undermined a very important part of professional wrestling. Music is imperative to that character. Mm-hmm. What would Steve Austin have been without the glass shattering? What up, Matt? We're doing well, brother. We're doing well. Glad to see you joined us. But what would Steve Austin have been without that glass shattering?
Still, go back and listen to the Hollywood Blondes theme from 94, 93. Let
me see if I can pull it up.
That.
And then look, some of the music, like there's
a damn hard-hitting song.
The Glorious song for Robert Roode wasn't even meant for him. It was meant for somebody else.
Well, it's AJ Styles' theme right now is meant for James Storm.
Yeah.
You're talking about this right here?
Yeah.
The Hollywood Blondes theme.
Why is that so hard-hitting for two guys that were just workers?
Right.
But that got over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but if this was Austin's theme in 98, he would have never been as over as he was.
No.
Never. It wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have worked. Without that glass shattering, it was just like...
And then the hard drive.
Yeah.
The hard drive.
Right.
Hard driving beat after that.
But it's just like The Rock. What would The Rock have been? The Rock was nobody until if you smell, until you got to that point.
I was going to say, how many times did The Rock's music evolve there at that point?
You go back.
I mean, it was like a different thing.
What was Rocky Mavia's theme?
It was some jungle sounding something.
Do you smell what The Rock is cooking?
Matt says he agrees. Music's a big part of it.
If you smell what
I'm just
until you finally got to the final product, which was the song for him.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and there's
Mankind.
But it still kept evolving. I mean, even The Rock evolved his theme music until today. It still changes.
When the last time it came out,
And I think that is a wonder of that whisper. Oh, it's just it's still it makes the hair on the back of your neck
And it's
raise
the
up.
same generic sound.
It's
It's
the
just
most electrifying
you know,
band in
right.
sports
like the
entertainment.
it's the same generic sound. It's
Right.
just warped into a different kind of sound type thing.
Right. No, it's the exact same beat, just done differently. If
You
it's
got-
either done with an electric guitar or whatever. I mean, because the rock's music's evolved a lot. Shawn Michaels. Think about the when that hit. Bum, 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 bum. I mean, when that music hit, Matt says DX and now themes set the tone when they come out. Yeah, I agree. Themes are what
NWO,
set.
probably.
Oh, and NWO. Okay, I agree. Yeah, okay. Brian ciphered you out. He figured you meant NWO.
Well,
But,
let's look at Mick Foley here. Okay,
Started
you
with
had
that piano.
Dude Love,
Yeah.
yeah,
you had the disco thing. You had Cactus Jack.
right.
You had Mankind with that slow, creepy ass funeral crawl. You had,
But you got to keep it
and then you just had Mick Foley's music,
with the car
which
crash.
was just really what he was just a big walking car wreck.
But you've got to think about Mick Foley got over with that crappy music and being in all brown.
Yeah,
He got over
with
with that.
crazy,
Right. Yeah.
Like me and Blake did this one time. We were playing around on one of the wrestling games, and we would just have like, okay, Austin, for example. Let's give Austin Trish Stratus's music and see him come out. You know, just
Right.
have him come out to the ring with different people's music, and it was just funny.
It's weird.
you know.
Now I will say that the best thing we've ever done was the.
Would they still do their regular
Oh, yeah.
animation?
Hang on,
to the
I'm
music?
going to pull it up and I'm going to show the people who are watching
Uh-oh.
the Brothers of Destruction
Yeah.
Oh man,
to the Brothers of Destruction
Breezango.
Fandango, right?
oh man, that was hilarious.
It
It was
was
Breezango, really. It was Tyler Breeze and Fandango,
Oh.
their tag team. But it if you haven't seen it, it's
where's
great.
it at? Oh God, I can't even find it. It was on YouTube.
Just
Yeah,
type
that's
in Brothers of Destruction Fandango entrance or whatever.
That's what I let's see, entrance. But it's just
It's great. I mean, it looks really freaking weird and silly, but it works.
it changed everything about the entire thing, and I
It
can't
changed
find
the
it.
dynamic of their
Yeah.
relationship.
Okay, so right here, hang on. I'm gonna spare you from having to watch a commercial that YouTube wants us to see.
Screw
And,
you,
um,
YouTube commercials.
I will let me go over and share my screen.
I like our little bouncy square.
Oh, it's true. Yeah, go ahead and share that. Yeah, share system audio. Go let everybody.
Blue one's on there for you.
Oh, is it really cool?
Okay, here we
I'm
go.
amused and entertained.
And sorry, folks. Sorry about this. Okay, so you've got my screen there. Now let me do this real quick. And if you'll watch this, you will see. This is just fantastic.
Applause.
Yep. This is
This is hilarious.
it
Have you
is.
seen this, John?
No.
Oh, this is your first time?
Completely changes your Undertaker and Kane.
I'm kind of scared. Well, the thing is,
It works.
it worked with Kane Taker. It just
How do you?
Oh, wait,
But
wait,
you
wait,
would've-
wait till they get in the
Yeah,
ring.
you would have never taken them as seriously.
As if this
No.
was their gimmick.
No.
look at-
You remember
he's doing the
Fandango's
face
entrance to
hairs
the
and
ring.
Everything perfectly.
It was.
I mean, the fact that Kane has a grin on his face.
It goes right
Watch
back.
Undertaker. Watch Undertaker.
But if you've never had proof positive that music matters when it comes to an entrance,
Finish your degree.
we don't care.
But yeah, that's glorious.
Yeah, if you've never had proof positive that music
Oh.
matters when it comes to entrances in wrestling, yet Matt says laugh my ass off. That right there is like proof positive that the music sets the tone for the entire match. You can't take Undertaker and Kane seriously
No,
if they came to
no.
the ring like that.
No,
I mean, it's just
these big scary dudes are not big and scary.
No,
they're
they're-
just big and
You
Undertaker does
weird.
not need a selfie stick.
But
So-
by God, now he has to have one.
Yeah.
but you just proved right there how important music is to the persona of a wrestler, and it's amazing to me that we have so much lazy. I mean, right now Moxley, his
The
his
Wild
interesting
Thing.
is Wild Thing,
Cult of personality.
but Wild Thing. Why would you go all the way back to the damn 1970s and pull
Steppenwolf.
Wild Thing out as
Step-
your damn theme music? It's not a good song.
I mean,
to
the
you.
only one the words.
I'm not saying it. Okay, let me rephrase
Wild Thing
that.
is a good song.
It's
Yeah.
a good song. It's not what if I were picking theme music. I mean, if it was me, Blake Wilkinson, the wrestler, picking theme music. Guess what? I'm picking Ozzy Osbourne's gets me through. It's got that driving beat. It sounds badass right out the start from the start. I mean, you've got the heavy guitar. They need that style of music back in wrestling.
See,
Well, it
Mox
builds
did have
Energy.
like a
It's some just instrumental.
some
crazy
instrumental,
thing, but-
something that he had before he did the Wild Thing. He just randomly changed the Wild Thing for some odd reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's just
It's-
something he felt like he wanted to do.
I told him.
Jericho has the best music in wrestling right now. I'll just go ahead and
Yeah.
tell you. And he wrote it himself.
Yes.
Mhm.
And
But,
go
and
ahead.
this is going back from the pod to Jericho. He had to get signed through Sony so he could get all the rights, blah blah blah. And Sony still takes a cut off of every time they
Right.
pay for it.
So-
Well, that's because that's
Yeah.
that's
And
that's
Jericho's
label.
Jericho's just like whatever.
It's business.
But so same
And then,
thing. I don't remember who did Cult of Personality.
In living color.
Okay, they're getting a cut every time
Yeah.
CM Punk walks out through
Right.
the curtain.
Same with Joan Jett and the Blackhearts when Ronda Rousey would come out.
Right. And can we just
Bad reputation.
can we just put something to rest real quick?
yes.
All right, I'm just going to point this out. Freaking Cody Rhodes has the worst goddamn entrance I have ever seen. You are not that important. Quit acting like it. You are not that over. You try to be over and you get booed. Accept the fact that you will always be a heel and just embrace it. Move on. Quit trying to be a face. Period. The end. Full stop.
I disagree, but that's just me.
You disagree.
I disagree.
You think he can be a face?
If he didn't try to,
He
same
can't
with
be a
Cena.
champion.
If the same with Cena, exactly.
Well,
If
he
the same
can.
with
He
Cena,
can't be the world champion.
He can. I mean, look, rules are meant to be broken. How many times has Austin?
he
Not
lost
so-
that match as Cody, not as Cody Rhodes. But if he would stop trying to, the same thing with Roman Reigns, if he would stop trying to shove himself down our throats, then he would get over.
Right.
But it's just I don't
Yeah,
know.
the more you force something on people, the more they resist it.
Yeah.
Well,
That's just basic psychology.
it goes back. The Rock. Okay. The Rock was at the reason The Rock was over was The Rock's real first time of being the man. He was a bad guy.
Mhm.
And it was when he turned on the ultimate bad guy, McMahon,
The balls.
that he became a good guy.
Yeah.
You do not have the ultimate bad guy anymore, which is Cody Rhodes' problem. Cody
Sure.
needs to put a suit on and be
And-
the ultimate bad guy on the show. Period. The end.
Yeah.
That's where you should be. You're
Instead of putting yourself
what?
over, put everybody else over.
and that's the issue.
Team
Again,
play.
that's going to be the issue in AEW. I promise you, at some point, these guys have some control. Everybody who goes to AEW has creative control, partial creative control over their contract. I was reading over the contracts the other day. They were posted in a dump that was done on Reddit. They all get partial creative control. You can't have the inmates running the prison.
But
Period.
it all
The end.
has to go through Tony Khan at the end.
That's great. But what did McMahon run into issues with? Why did he let
Right.
Bret Hart go?
Bischoff.
Well,
Case
yeah,
in point with Bischoff.
but,
I mean,
exactly. But why did he let Bret Hart go? Bret Hart was making money for WWE,
Mhm. He had
but
just
Bret
signed
Hart
another,
refused to do business.
Yeah.
And what happens when you have CM Punk do that, or when you have Moxley do that? What do? Do you
You
say,
fire
oh well,
them?
they've got creative control. Too bad, I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, do you let them go? What? You can't let them go because it's in a diehard contract.
Right. So, but music is important to the wrestler. I agree. Right now, they're not utilizing good. They're not utilizing good music choice, and there's no original music anymore in the world of wrestling. To me, as I look at it, I mean, WWE. Tell me an original song there, like Nakamura. That's not an original song.
Ultimate Warrior.
Okay, but he's not. He's dead. You can play it when you enter hell, I guess. I don't know, but
Current nowadays or WWE like
right now,
an original song.
I'm just saying I can't think of a single song there that is original.
New Day. It's a
Cena?
new day. Yes, it is.
Okay. Is it over?
Oh,
Yeah.
You think New Day is like Austin level over?
No.
The
No,
Rock.
it's-
I'll even go one
They're a
lower.
joke.
The Rock. Hell, Mankind level over. I don't think so.
They're a joke.
Yeah,
They're
they
a joke
are.
card.
They are comedy.
Right. And you know, that's the other thing. And I hate to point out, it goes back to the psychology of wrestling. Comedy is fine, but it should be natural. It shouldn't be
Forced. It's
correct.
not funny.
Right. And I mean, like DX, that was great comedy.
Yeah.
What DX was doing. It came naturally. They were trying to be the people who were in the way of everything. You think about Matt says that's what helps helped with the demise of WCW because almost everyone had creative control. You're right.
Mhm.
Some more than others like Hogan. Yeah, I mean, you had people there who all had some creative control over themselves. And
hey Nash, you got the title. You've had the title for like 10 years now. You want to like pass it on? Nah, I'm good right now.
well, Nash didn't have the title that
Well, yeah.
long, but I mean, you know, and
Let me see. The last one, I think, the last one who had the title before we went to, it was Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner had the title for forever, and the last Nitro, I think he lost it to
DDP, wasn't it?
Booker T.
Was it Booker?
Because Booker brought it over to WWE.
That's right. I remember. You know, it just goes right back to the fact that, okay, we'll go into this comedy thing because I seen something on AEW last week that I hated. They were in Halloween costumes.
I love that.
I hated it.
It made sense though. 'Cause
I
it was a
get it.
Halloween
It was
episode.
Halloween, but to me, okay, like the gimmick, like forever the gimmick with me, but for Christmas is going to be Crapper 316.
Oh God.
If you remember that, I mean, you know,
Stone Cold Stunning Santa Claus.
right, and putting him in the crapper, you know, and I get that everybody's trying to be PC, including AEW.
Mhm.
They're trying to be PC, but you're professional wrestling. And that's
There's
what
only so
AEW
much you can do to be PC. with that.
AEW bills themselves as professional wrestling, not as sports entertainment like WWE does. AEW needs to realize that in the sport of professional wrestling, PC has no place.
Right.
In entertainment like WWE's got going on, sure, you could be PC. That's what they design an entire company and brand around right now. And to me, where we're at with that, again, the music is lacking. The creative is lacking. It could be so much better. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm watching and I see that there are right now about 3 million people watching wrestling on any given night. The wrestling's on television. That's a big deal. It's been since about 2007 since anybody could say there's been that many people watching wrestling. That's a big deal. But where do we go next? What happens next?
They're just thinking week to week.
You think that's really where we're at? That we're just they're right now they're just planning week to week.
Well,
You mean you tell me they don't feel like they're going through the motions? They're going through the motions at every level of those organizations, especially WWE.
Yeah.
They're just going
If
through
we're
the motions.
If we're sitting
They're
right
just
here
turning up.
and we're the creative team for a wrestling federation, you've got to have a 6-month plan.
what are you going to do? Just, throw a spitball on the wall, see if it sticks.
All right,
Yeah,
so
but you-
we're gonna have a feud between Moxley and
The rehab doctor.
Omega.
Right.
And Moxley's gonna have a feud.
Okay,
right now, so
Moxley's out now because he's at rehab.
So,
what do? You've got to
uh,
come up with a
have
contingency.
Eddie Kingston come in since he's Moxley's tag partner.
Okay.
Have him come in and have it say that maybe they,
He's defending Moxley's
defending
honor.
Moxley's honor. So now,
Yeah, have the other guy trash him.
Right.
Whatever. Heel move.
And that should have been expected.
Yeah.
You should have seen that. That
I mean,
should be
there's
what
not-
happens.
I mean, there's not a feud with who's Moxley facing right now. Who was he supposed to?
It was supposed to be Orange Cassidy, but right now it's
Oh, yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, it's the world title thing. Yeah, but yeah,
My point though is that it seems to me as though we put and we said this last week. Vince McMahon 3 minutes before air scrap the entire show. We'll do it. Fuck it. We'll do it live.
mhm.
And
But you gotta have a
That's-
plan. Like, all right, well,
He's
let's-
second guessing himself, and that's a dangerous
So-
position to be in.
Well, it's
Wrestler
not
A
having-
and Wrestler B gonna have this feud up until the pay per view.
right.
All right, we're gonna have the heel come out and talk shit and refuse to wrestle.
Well, traditional booking says that you have every feud should be 3 to 6 months is traditional booking. The heel's gonna win most of the stuff until the very end when you get the great vindication of the
That's good
face.
classic storytelling.
And I don't see that taking place right now. Do you think Paige wins the title?
I hope so.
You hope
Halfway
so.
because it's been on Omega almost a year now.
Right.
A full year next month. And then again, I think it's Hangman's time. I mean, he's over
I agree.
when
I think Hangman would be great as the
whether it
champion.
be short term, long term, whatever,
Sure.
he's over. People want to see
Pin the belt on him for a little while and
Yeah.
move on. Yeah.
and see how see how it goes. If not, then
See if it
bring in
fits.
Miro.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Or
somebody that
Aleister Black would be fine.
yes, that'd be perfect.
Well, it's
Yeah.
Malachi Black now.
Okay.
Oh,
Same.
whatever.
Yeah.
Johnny End.
We know who I'm talking about. So
He knows who he is.
did I see Christopher Daniels this week on there?
He's on Impact.
I thought I seen him on
He might be.
I,
know
I
him.
thought Christopher Angels they called this guy, and I was like, is that Christopher
That's
Daniels?
No, Chris Angels is somebody different.
Is it?
a mind freak. His
Okay.
position.
You're talking about the guy who was wrestling Omega.
Right.
I don't remember his name.
But anyways, that guy, I seen him and I thought, this guy's got it going on. I'd have never heard him speak,
Mhm.
but he had it going on in the ring. He could have done a fairly good job. So, but yeah, the costumes this week, they threw me off. I don't think you should go that route. Personally, I don't believe that's the route that wrestlers should go.
Okay. If you wanted to do it, do like, here we are. We're going to have like a little costume contest. Bing, bing, bam. We're done.
It's
Back to
okay.
regular wrestling.
No, it
so
is-
it's like,
It is
it's like a little
okay.
spot.
It is okay to do that with the women wrestlers because especially like AEW still takes women's wrestling a lot more lightly than WWE does. Okay. It's okay to do that with the women's wrestlers to go, oh, we're going to have a Halloween costume contest.
I don't know. They look like they enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, sure. But I mean, but
ain't
the
the first time
issue with
that-
AEW, they don't have a Jerry the King Lawler to do it. They've got Tony
It
Schiavone,
ain't the
who
first
does
time
not
that
have.
they had the
He's not
elite
good
dressed
for
up either. I mean, when the Space Jam movie came out, they come dressed up as Toon Squad at the pay per view, wasn't it?
It was I think it was
Was it pay per view? No, it was a Dynamite.
But that reminds me of New Day so much. It's like they're trying to rip off New Day. And you
that's their
shouldn't be doing
everyday
it.
gimmick.
I get it, but it's ripping off New Day. They shouldn't be doing it. Be original in your, I get there's only so much originality to go around,
Yeah.
took the words right out of my mouth on that.
but
It'll be so original, Blake.
I get that. But my point is that, do something different. I mean, if you're going to do that, if you're going to be dressed up as somebody, especially they're the heel, they're not the face. I don't think they should be doing it.
Yeah,
Because I mean
Or
that
you know
that
what?
tarnishes that heel image.
Or you dress up like the person and mock them in the ring, like
Yeah, that would have been fun.
And then it's not original though. Stop it.
No, but it's still
It works. It doesn't have to be original if it works. That's the thing. As long as it's working, a working gimmick works.
holy fuck. I thought I was fat. Well, hate it for you, son. I got you beat on that. I'll go ahead and tell you. But anyways, no. But I'm telling you, I think that the story has to be revolving around the character completely. If we're looking at if you're a heel, you've got no business dressing up and being, unless it is to make fun of the other person.
Yeah. or reveling in your badness or something, whatever.
Right. I mean,
Dress up
because
like Scarface. Or
you're
some shit.
not an
I don't know.
effective heel if you go out and somebody's like, oh well, he's comedy. You go out and you try to level somebody, it doesn't sell. It's
Yeah, but
not
then
selling.
again, go back to looking at BTE being the Elite, the web series
Right.
that the Bucks have done for, I don't know, 6 years now, 5-6 years. If you watch that, anything that they did on Dynamite would basically be negated because being the Elite shows who they really are.
Right.
Which is just a couple guys that love wrestling, and they're like, we're gonna be assholes, we're gonna be jokers.
No, I agree.
So I mean that it's just, I don't know. Them dressing up actually just showed their personality. It came through, and I mean, granted, I thought it was funny. Evidently,
But no, I get that it was meant as comedic humor. It was meant as a way to lighten the mood.
right.
But they're the heels. You're supposed to be the bad guy. I mean,
Right now, they're just worried about viewership. I think.
I think you're right. If Kane came out dressed up as a Halloween,
I could see Kane
Right.
in like a French maid outfit.
well, I mean,
go
we've
back-
seen the video earlier.
You
go
save
back-
it for your bedroom fantasies.
We go back to the thing, like back in old WCW days. Remember when they used to do the turkey thing, where you had to wrestle in that loser had to wrestle in that turkey outfit or whatever it was.
Then they brought that over to Impact, and
It's a gimmick that doesn't need to be done with a heel, and that's my stance on it. Don't do it with a heel.
Or perfect healing move. Everybody else is dressed up. I'm not doing it. I don't give a damn. Fuck y'all.
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, that would have been
Boo,
almost
boo yourselves,
right,
boo
almost
yourselves.
Rick Rude style.
Yeah,
I think that would have worked.
insult the crowd. That kind of shit.
if I can be serious for a minute.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, if you were talking about the heel trying to be the to come out with a costume and then just to throw it back at the audience and be like, why do you dress and just tear into the audience, Rick Rude style. So that's
Oh, you fat, slobby ladies and you're ugly. Just get on out of here.
so anyways, Triple H is going to be out for a little while.
Why is he old?
Well, he's had a heart attack.
He is
Whoops.
50 something.
So, and he apparently they're saying he's pondering retirement. So
Is it the steroids?
I would assume so, would be my assumption. Years of abuse of steroids and stuff like
Painkillers.
that. Well, definitely painkillers, because he's admitted before he's had a painkiller problem.
Look, okay.
For the
Face
wrestling to
facts.
be like
It's fake or
Yeah.
whatever, and they know
It
how to
takes
take
a
the
toll.
lands and everything. It's still fucking rough on your body. Repeated injuries over and over, pounding that mat. You're gonna be tore up at some point. Your body's just gone.
It's 8:00. The duck's quacking.
It's quack o'clock.
Yep.
But it's going to take its toll, and how you deal with that, whether it be alcohol or drugs, cocaine, whatever.
pills.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, and
they all find their way to deal with it.
if you get dropped on your ass, every night, because keep in mind, Triple H started out when you were working 300 dates a year.
Mm-hmm.
It's you're going to get injured regardless. Bret Hart, if you go back and watch Wrestling with Shadows, Bret Hart talked about breaking his sternum and having to show up the next night and wrestle. It's not that way anymore. They give you time off, stuff like that. But still,
Yeah, man, that was a big deal when they actually started doing that.
when Triple H was coming up,
Look at Triple H. Look at
that was the culture in wrestling.
Triple H versus Jericho. When Triple H blew out both his quads, he finished that match.
One quad.
Was it one quad?
One quad.
Okay.
He came back 9 years, or 2001.
He blew his quad and
5
was
years
still
later.
was put into the walls of Jericho. Even though that it's not going to hurt, it's meant to just look like, or that hurt with a quad.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that blowing a quad and not, being in a match, there's no way you're going to feel good
He
about it.
finished his match.
And then you got
But
people
that was-
like Owen Hart, Tombstone pile driving.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Austin got dropped on his head. He's got a fucking broke neck.
Yeah.
He still
You know,
finished the match.
still finished the match. That's
It's kind of a crappy finish, but you know.
it wasn't a good
He
finish.
couldn't move.
But yeah, he was laying there with a fucking broke neck.
Let's break your neck and see how you do.
You're gonna push cards tomorrow.
I mean,
Matt-
it just broke kayfabe. I mean, I'm just telling you.
Matt says exactly. Imagine how Mick Foley's dealing with the pain and
I mean,
all
that
the shit
means-
he's been through.
I
mean-
to
three
be
hip
jacked up on
replacement
people.
I saw I've heard a thing one time talking about Jeff Hardy. He's thinking about doing a heel turn and changes his character altogether because he says he's can't do a lot of them flips and jumps and stuff anymore.
Well, and that's another thing. Not everybody needs to be doing flips and jumps.
I mean, look at Darby Allin. He's like off of AEW. He's I don't know, 21, 22, and maybe
Yeah, it
at the
looks-
most 25.
It looks cool when you jump through the ropes outside of the ring to clothesline somebody,
He
but I mean,
isn't
by
gonna
God,
have-
it hurts. I don't
No.
care how much padding you put down on the concrete floor.
He isn't gonna have a long wrestling career if he keeps doing that shit.
Mm-mm.
But well, he may. I mean, the Hardys are still,
Yeah,
Doing
but
stuff.
Matt's also like
If they're
It's-
gimped up, they're gimped up. I mean, it doesn't
Right.
matter.
and then again, I get Rey Mysterio.
true. Is yeah.
At some point, you're going to come to the point where it doesn't matter how many pills are jacked up on alcohol you are.
And Dr. Feelgood's out of business now. So I mean, you know,
you
they're
just can't push through the pain anymore. You know,
Or God forbid, I mean, look at Brian Pillman. His
Right.
sister had said, that he would say numerous times, "I'll take one pill. If it doesn't help, I'll take another pill until the pain stops."
eventually, it's not going to.
not too long ago, I heard Buff Bagwell say that he would take 60 or 70 pills a day. And then he
That's
would also
rough.
chase it down with a 24 pack of beer. And that, that was how he dealt with the pain. Now he's had surgery since because he had a shoulder injury. He's had surgery since then and repaired most of that. But still, that's the type of shit you put up with. I get it's put on. Wrestling's not real. Okay. Newsflash.
Bullshit, it's not real.
But
That-
you still get
wrestling's not real,
injured.
but the hits, some of the hits you just can't fake.
Yeah, you still get injured in the process of putting on
You
the
whip
show.
somebody into the turnbuckle. I'm sure it's going to fucking
That's gonna be
hurt.
Whiplash.
Wrestling is
Getting
a
put through the
stunt
table.
man
that's-
show.
Yeah, you get put through a table. Yeah, that's a weakened table, but that's still you splinters. You get cut by wood.
Yeah,
You know, the
it's not gonna
kendo
feel good.
stick's going to hurt.
Right.
I mean, look at there was a match where it showed was it Drew McIntyre showed his back after a kendo thing when his back was just lit up.
Did you see
Yeah,
Brian Danielson's chest this past week? That was
He's
rough. It
so
looked
off.
painful.
I thought I was had a
Some
pale complexion.
some Ric Flair style chops to the chest had done that, and it did not go well.
No,
it was rough. So anyway, what else we need? We're going to talk about all the releases.
May as well while it's still fresh in everybody's mind.
All right, who was on the list of releases from WWE this week?
Keith Lee,
Yeah.
Nia Jax,
she was somebody.
Karrion Cross, Killer Cross, whatever the hell you want to call him,
Right.
Scarlet,
Who Scarlett is
Karrion Cross's
Oh,
real
kinda
life
like a-
fiance,
Grand Metalik,
Lindsay Dorado.
Lindsay Dorado with the Lucha House Party.
Shit, where's
Yeah,
my
they
phone?
should be on.
It's
Pull up the list.
and then a bunch of other Eva Marie, which the
Right,
only
no
thing
big
about
loss.
Eva Marie was
She was
she was
hot.
really pretty. Other than that,
Well, I mean, I can see where Nia Jax would have to go. They got a bigger.
well, no,
Well,
not,
Yeah, they got a new
They got somebody else that's taking her gimmick away from her, being the big girl.
Eva Marie Adams. Matt says so.
yeah, Eva Marie. She was pretty, but she could not wrestle worth a shit.
But again, that goes back to
Sometimes you
the
just gotta
ladies
cut
in
the
wrestling.
dross.
They don't have to. I mean, to be honest, they don't have to. And
I mean, women's tennis is a thing.
women's basketball. So I mean, let's just be honest.
I mean, the most exciting thing about women's tennis is the
And this is coming from you.
it's just interesting. I like they really get into it. They're selling that tennis. The guys
Right.
don't do all that.
I'm having to scroll through. Y'all
John's
can talk.
getting the list here.
Checking it twice.
But this is the thing is I was saying before we went on air that WWE had a poster of the entire roster from the Attitude Era, And then they someone had put together a poster of everyone who'd been released in 2021, and it was about 2 times the poster of everyone who was released in 2021 was 2 times the size of the entire roster
Well, that may be
in
because
1998.
well, it's
So
probably because they signed on too many stupid, gimmicks. Stupid people. They signed up too much.
they really do sign the dumbest gimmicks right now. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got pancake tossing black folk. I don't get it.
Speaking of this, B, I found a list. B Fab, who was on Hit Row, she was on SmackDown. Never really said much. Ember Moon,
Yeah, Ember Moon.
she'd been NXT to WWE back and forth. Eva Marie, we already talked about. Frankie Monet, who you'll probably remember as Taya Valkyrie.
Was there anyone that had held any titles or of any clout that they let go?
Yeah,
Keith Lee was like a United States champion or something like that.
Is there any decent sized names on there?
Nia Jax was a women's champion.
I mean, that's the
but-
only one I can think of off that
Yeah,
whole.
she's the only
That's
one.
the biggest contract they dropped.
But she was injured. She was out injured, and she also was unsafe to work with.
That
She
was-
injured multiple different people.
But they hire Goldberg,
Well, she
Yeah.
probably hurts herself
and
too.
I mean, he's ended how many careers?
Mm.
I mean,
One that we know of.
Bret Hart for sure,
Yeah.
and I mean he's not very good at.
Sour grapes.
Well, I mean, let's just face it. Bret Hart is probably the best ring general there is. He can call a match. He can tell you how to do a match. Goldberg refused to listen, kicked him in the damn face,
Yeah.
and
They have since buried the hatchet, but still, it only took. What
yeah,
was this?
well, but
23 years or something.
Bret's a whiny bitch who hates everybody, though. I mean, have you ever read his book?
Don't want to.
Yeah, well, don't. It's
I'm a whiny Canadian bitch.
yes, that's exactly what his problem is.
I'm not sorry.
I wanted so much more for my career. I could have done all this, but no, they didn't want me to.
Don't knock Bret Hart. Why not? I mean, come on. Bret Hart's done a fine job of knocking himself.
Well,
Everything
you
Bret.
can't beat him up any better than he.
No,
does.
Bret Hart does a fine job of it. Well, Bret
that
Hart,
fan did.
Eric, B-
Yeah. And then shit, who was it?
the bicycle that got him
Oh,
too. So Bret Hart's had a hard life after
Yeah.
he left the WCW. It's not been good for Bret.
no.
Strokes and all sorts of fun shit. So
People
bicycle
coming in
wrecks and
beating the hell out of you from behind in your second Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
he did get jumped.
Yeah.
He's the king. I don't agree. Bret's not the king. Bret's
You
all
said
right.
last
The king of
week.
whiny bitches.
I said that. Okay, last week I said Bret was the best wrestler because of
Period.
the gimmick. Yeah, because of the gimmick, who he was in the 90s.
But that still doesn't excuse him. For
That
being a
doesn't
whiny
excuse him
bitch.
for being a whiny bitch.
Okay.
No, I get Chris Jericho's big. But Chris Jericho has the ability. He's got that same Bret Hart ability to be a whiny bitch. Let's just be honest.
No, he does. But
He's done it, but he does it really good.
Yeah.
though.
Bret
And
Hart
that's
was a
what-
better heel.
Jericho's over regardless. Because,
Right.
Think about the cruise last year.
Oh no, I get it, but Jericho's a better heel, just like Bret Hart was.
And hell, like you said, Jericho, when he was a heel when he came out, people still saying Judas.
Mhm.
Now he's a babyface, people still saying Judas. You could tell whenever he was the heel, he would come out and just he had that look on his face that he's just fighting back that smile because everyone's singing along with his song.
But and that's again, it goes back. You don't have. I would say if we had to look at somebody in modern wrestling who's comparable to Bret Hart, probably, I would say CM Punk has the same in-ring ability as Bret Hart.
Omega.
You think Omega?
Omega. Best bout machine for a reason. He's the only guy who's ever gotten, 3 5-star matches from Meltzer?
Yeah, but I mean, it's Dave Meltzer. It's not like it's a. You
That's
must.
true, but still,
Something Nielsen.
yeah, but it's hard to get that shit. Have you ever actually watched?
I've watched Omega many
Okay.
times, but
the 30-minute match that he had with Bryan Danielson
Right.
a couple weeks ago. I never thought the 30-minute match would keep me that entertained. I was glued to my damn seat, or the edge of it, but still. It just But then again, when it comes to AEW, I'm just
Matt-
going to watch it regardless.
Matt says we got to be understanding about Brett because he lost his brother Owen. If you watch the Dark Side of the Ring about Owen, that is some bullshit. He died because Vince wanted to be cheap, and that's true.
Yeah.
If they had, well, the other thing about Owen's death, if Owen and I hate to victim blame,
He could have said
but
no.
He did say no.
He could have meant it.
he
Put his little foot down. Said no.
And then you won't get airtime.
he put his foot down too far.
Well, he got too much airtime. That was the problem.
No, but I mean, like, okay, well, if you look at what happened to Owen, Owen could have made sure that he had the latch on and all that stuff. He didn't. He was in a rush. And that's part of why the issue happened. Yeah, sure, Matt's right. There was, there should have been more safety protocols done, like with Sting in WCW.
You could see that Sting was always like struggling to
Right.
get out of the thing, but still
Sting wore the entire
harness. Yeah.
Owen just sort of threw it over one leg, and then
Right,
that
he
was
didn't even have that. He just had
Well,
like
he didn't have
belt
any-
and
yeah.
a clip.
so. I mean, but I get Bret Hart just had a rough life, but still, I mean, everybody has. Every single person that lives.
Just because he had a rough life doesn't mean that we should be like, oh, he's the greatest just because of what happened to him. I mean, he's got to prove that he was the
I mean,
greatest.
No, I
Yeah.
agree.
the greatest of go back, I don't know, 15, 20 years. To me, the greatest would have been Ric Flair. He had a hard life. He had a broken fucking back for some.
Plane crash,
I mean,
survived
And
it.
he came back.
His son dying.
Right.
Oh,
I mean, but that's the thing is everybody, doesn't matter if you're a wrestler or not. Everybody's had, shit happen in their life. And if you either keep on keeping on or you don't. And most of us don't sit around and bitch about it. That's what Bret Hart has spent his entire retirement doing. Since he left WWE, he has complained about the WWF. It was Vince McMahon was so bad to him. Vince McMahon fucked him, So what?
He's the eternal
So-
victim.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
didn't get what you wanted, and you know what? Too bad. You signed a contract to make more money, and you expect the company you're leaving to treat you with respect and dignity because of the fact that you don't.
the damn belt.
Yeah, because you wouldn't do business.
Yeah.
Too bad.
I mean, that's just the way it is.
So I hate it. As I say, I like Bret Hart. I loved Bret Hart whenever he was wrestling. And one of the first wrestling shirts I ever bought was a Hitman shirt. Today I don't have as much respect for Bret Hart because he won't shut up with the whining. And that's my stance on him. Let's go back to music for a minute. Bret Hart though did have good music. that
Again, that progression of it.
yeah. I mean, and when he came out, when you heard that guitar screech and Bret came through the curtain, you knew you were going to see
Now
a good
Natty,
match.
Natty's got kind of like it. She's got the guitar screech in her song.
Does she?
Yeah.
But
It's kind of like a Bret Hart remastered theme.
the Hart Foundation music
Yeah.
remastered. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's interesting that where we're at today with wrestlers is that they don't have the original music anymore. And it's just, hey, let's go pick something you like off the radio and roll with it. And I'm not a fan of it, but it is what it is.
I mean, there's some that's got some original ish, but it's not as like let's say we'll go Drew McIntyre. It's just bagpipes,
So,
Then
It fits
go
his
back
character.
But yeah,
30 years ago.
the
Right?
music-
he's the Highlander.
The
It
music,
fits-
but
it
it's not
helps
like
create the
Greatest
character, right?
movie ever made.
but it's not like something you'll find on the radio. It's not like, oh, this is a top hit. Let's use it. It's just
he really should
Hey,
come out with a
you know.
Claymore.
he does.
Who
like
did
a
that?
blues
I
Yeah.
mean,
Okay.
Was it
The-
AEW first? No, it was ECW back 20 years ago. They would Tommy Dreamer, Alice in Chains, Man in a Box, Raven,
Right.
The Offsprings come out and play. My personal favorite, Balls Mahoney's ACDC's I Got Big Balls.
Right. But ECW was a different story
Yeah.
altogether.
And they had
ECW
asked
Whole different
Paul-
creature.
They had asked Heyman, they're like, how'd you get around it? I didn't give a shit.
Yeah, he didn't play ball.
Yeah,
He
like,
didn't pay.
New Jack had like Gangster's Paradise or something like
It
that.
was-
Well, I mean, he probably at that time all you had to do was pay venue royalties, which were different than radio royalties. And I personally, I don't understand why WWE didn't jump into that earlier because it was cheaper. When they first started that was use shit in the public domain. And I get it that's one, way of saving money to make as much as you can for your company. But when you look at Paul Heyman's, with ECW, Paul Heyman had a company that was coming on strong, and he was doing new stuff that Vince McMahon wasn't thinking about doing. And he was probably, I mean, if he would have been capable of
better money management, he'd probably still be around.
Yeah.
Or ECW would probably still be around.
In some form or fashion.
Yeah.
And if that had been the case, because they really did have a better product in the 90s.
They did. I mean, maybe you want to watch it more.
Every match was one of those like, because you don't know what to expect. Like, start off as a normal match, and then you get somehow another weapons involved, and you get the shit beat out of you, and you're just pouring blood at the end of the match.
Well, it goes back to Paul Heyman's a hell of a promoter.
True, and Paul Heyman's still a good promoter, even
he's
today.
He's
He
sold us Brock Lesnar.
I mean, he's selling you right now,
a
Roman
man
Reigns.
who really doesn't need to be sold. He sold him anyway.
Yeah.
He made you pay twice.
He's made Roman Reigns an interesting character.
I mean, look at
by
Paulie there. He's been around in the business forever. He's learned trades from some of the greatest people in the business. So he's compiled a lot of knowledge and stuff from this business to throw back to help people.
Same can be said about Jim Ross, though.
Yeah.
I mean, back when Jim Ross was talent management, Jim Ross knew the business inside and out. He knew who to bring in. He knew who to make, who to push, who to go to Vince, or as they call him, the old man, and say, hey, this guy needs a push. And I don't see that happening anywhere right now in management with the WWE. What the hell was that?
It's like a laugh and a cough. Laughing over there?
Laughing.
Matt says Roman Reigns didn't have any original music for his character.
He has
He
no
used
original
the Shield
he has no
theme.
character.
It's true.
No character.
He used the Shield's music until he turned heel. The music he has now still isn't helping his character much.
Technically, it wasn't the Shield. It was the Shield as you expected. It was the same song, but it was different, like a little bit different key.
You know who did the Shield better than them?
Who's that?
Big Boss Man.
Well, but okay, if we want to get into Roman Reigns, talking about him for a moment.
I mean, how do you beat the Big Boss Man?
Roman Reigns, Steve Austin, beat 10 men, including the Big Boss Man in one night in a gauntlet.
I know.
But did the Big Boss Man beat Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock at the same night?
No, that was Chris Jericho.
Kick it in, man.
No,
Can't see you.
Yeah, nobody can see
You're
you.
John Cena over there. You refuse to have your camera.
John Cena on the show with us. No, Roman Reigns to me is a
voice.
character that needs development. If you're going to use him, I mean, it's fine having Paul Heyman
And that's
as
good.
his
That's
manager.
a good start.
That's how you have to build him.
Yeah.
He has no talent for the mic, and you've got to have someone with good mic skills as his
He's
manager.
got no personality.
I don't know him personally, so I have no clue. He may have a personality,
Doesn't show much personality,
but he doesn't show it when he's in the ring. But with that being said, nobody at WWE is showing
anything.
a
any
lot of
emotion or
personality
feeling.
in that ring right now.
Mm-mm.
Riddle.
No, they're phoning it in. Every one of them.
Riddle.
Nakamura.
But okay,
You can't understand.
right? You can't understand the damn thing Nakamura says unless you've took
That's why he's
Japanese,
got Rick. Boo.
right? But
That's why it throws them in that man.
I just personally I don't understand where they're heading with the company. It's like they're trying to become too international for my taste, and that's just where we're at. That's where it's going to be, I believe, for a while. Anything
Too
else we
spicy
want to?
for his white bread taste.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, I get it. I believe wrestling should be a white trash, soap opera.
Slugfest, yeah.
Yeah, and they're trying to build an international audience,
It
and
should be like Jerry Springer with baby oil.
yes, but AEW is doing a better job right now of building that. I mean, because they're really truly AEW is grabbing more American fans
Mhm.
than WWE is.
The
WWE
fact
is
that it's
spending
taken off.
but
is one of those things.
WWE spending their every moment trying their best to get
Break
Saudi
even.
Arabia
Yeah.
to
They're going
love their
after all this-
product.
They're going after these foreign markets. That's fine. But,
It's
you
not
got to
really-
take back the people back home. The folks back home need something too.
But it's not really good when you got the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Who could just execute
Forgive
you
me.
on will.
Yeah, and
I'm not
he
gonna ask
wants
his forgiveness. Fuck him.
Yokozuna, who's been dead 22 years by this point, to come in here and wrestle.
Did he really ask
Yeah,
for
When they
Yokozuna?
did the greatest Royal Rumble, he wanted Yokozuna, Hulk Hogan, and everybody else had either been dead or long since retired.
So
to
that
come
tells
in
me
and
that
wrestle.
they've only recently been
Yeah,
watching wrestling.
We just got wrestling last week.
and they're started back in the
We're,
80s.
we're still watching Hulk Hogan. Isn't he new? Where's Andre the Giant at? We need him. I just personally, I think that they need to quit pandering to the overseas market.
There's a reason why. Go back. 10,
or if you
15
do
years.
pander to them, have the specific targeted stuff for them. Like have their own wrestling ring,
league
or whatever.
Well, they had,
you wanna
they used to
wrap
have
them
like
with
the
robes to fight.
NXT,
India,
NXT, Japan,
but
all this other
I mean,
different
if you
stuff.
want to have your Burqa match, that's fine.
I mean, look, Mansoor, it was a Indian grown wrestler, and they only used him at Crown Jewel. But now he's recently actually moved on to the main roster. I don't think he's doing.
But he's not
anything.
good.
And he's just all he's been doing is feuding with
The other guy.
Yeah, the other
yeah.
sand people.
I'll think about it in a minute.
Stop all of
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah,
Shit.
Yeah, they had the match. They had a match.
they did. In
That's the
Sand
thing.
People Central.
And who gave a shit? Who won?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Sand People, maybe.
I'm sure Mansoor.
They'll
probably
come back
wants
in
us to
droves.
his
Just
home thing.
But I'm seriously, there is nothing interesting about what they're putting out there right now. It's trying to pander to an international market.
I'm waiting for the Chinese matches to start.
They will. I mean, because
Chopstick
look,
on a pole.
the whole reason that John Cena's gone is because John Cena spoke out against China. Quick, put John Cena on the back burner. We don't want him back for a while
Yeah,
till it's forgot, so we can sell this product in China.
yeah, exactly.
I say to hell with them. That's not who built your company.
Mm-mm.
That's not you. Stay loyal to the fans that had with 6 million viewers a week,
Mhm.
and to hell with trying to expand into other countries. Nobody look. Let's just be honest. There are products currently in China. There are wrestling promotions there that happen. They're there. People are watching it there. Ain't nobody waking up at 3:00 in the morning to watch Raw in China.
Mm-mm. I mean, there's a reason why I go back, like I was saying, 10, 15 years ago, where, they traveled to, I don't know, England for a week.
Right.
And they do gangbusters, hella good numbers, but it'd be a week there, a week back.
Well, I point
And
out
everything else would be over here, but they wouldn't change the show whatsoever.
that Britain has just as much white trash as the U.S. does.
Oh my God, don't they? Brexit showed that.
Right. Well, I'm not to get in politics or anything, but
Everywhere is the South.
but every country's got a South. To
the
agree.
South has a South.
To hell, Matt says he agrees. To
We're
hell
in the
with
deep
China
South.
and what they
Oh, yeah.
want. Yeah, exactly.
Everyone in the South, like, we're bad, but we're not Florida bad.
But look, the thing is that you've got this product that's sold in the U.S. and you've negated the product. You've you've neutered it. You've cut it down
Mhm.
to appeal to foreign markets. Quit doing that. You've got a good product that could continue on. If you go back, you could have cultivated the product you had and still be doing well with the markets you were doing well with, that were buying shirts, because where's money made in wrestling? Merch. And okay, but it's true. That's
No,
where
you
money's
can say
made.
Merchandise. Merchandise, I'm okay with. It's just
So merch.
We're not worried about what you care about right here, okay?
Yeah.
I'm a violent person. I'm a snowflake.
Okay, so anyways, that problem solved.
I'm Bret Hart. Look at me. I'm hurt by words.
But no, I'm seriously, you're not selling the products that you should be moving. They're not moving. How often do you see a wrestling shirt in the wild?
There's one.
That's not in the wild. We're at a wrestling podcast. That's not
He
in the
wears
wild.
them in the wild too.
Yeah.
No. I get that he does. He's the host of a wrestling podcast, just like
He
we
was
are.
doing it before he
Yeah,
was.
it was doing
I
it before it
get
was
it.
cool.
But we enjoy wrestling, okay?
The last
I'm
wrestling
saying
shirt
in
I've
the
seen,
wild.
the last wrestling shirt I've seen in the wild was probably a few months back, where I saw an Undisputed Era T-shirt.
Okay.
Bullet Club,
How long ago has it been, though?
WrestleMania last year or WrestleMania this year.
So, I mean, my point remains. It's not like it was.
No, it's not like it was where every other person at school or something
Right.
would be wearing it.
Yeah,
How many
they wear them
DX
all
shirts
the
did you
time.
see when we were kids? How
I
many
had-
Austin shirts did you see when we were kids?
I
How many
had-
The Rock shirts did you see
Yeah.
when we were kids?
And it wasn't just kids; it was adults too,
Mhm.
wearing DX shirts and Austin 316 shirts. It was a completely different era.
Well,
They
when
had-
Applebee's used to be open here in town, we used to see Hulkamania shirts all the time. That one dude that kept coming in there,
Right.
But
my point is that you're not moving the merchandise that you should be moving in the country you should be moving it in.
No,
And they're
they're just
obviously
trying to get foreign
we,
investment.
we watched Crown Jewel. There wasn't a lot of wrestling shirts in that audience.
Yeah.
My point is that you've
Well,
got to
because it
move merch.
violates the national dress code or some shit. I don't know. Still,
Whatever. I mean, but still, that particular company,
or if you do see wrestling shirts in it, I see NWO shirts a lot. I see
you don't see them a lot anymore. You see them some more than you do any other shirt.
or,
I mean-
Bullet Club shirts
Mhm.
are, occasionally you'll see some other random shirts here and there in the crowds of the
But
wrestling.
it
show,
goes
they're
right-
going to the wrestling.
Okay.
Show. They either just bought that shirt and
I'm
wearing it.
going to point something else out. We'll go. I mean, I know we're on the merch, talking about merch right now. What about the Once Upon a Time, WWE the Music Volume
I was gonna
whatever
say the CDs sold a lot.
was number one on
I
the
bought 'em.
Billboard charts.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean they're not doing that,
That's because the
they're-
music was good.
but it's also because they're not making music anymore. We're completely missing an opportunity to sell our stuff.
And now we got the internet, so a lot of people
Yeah,
don't even do
it's-
CDs
You can pirate.
anymore. We got
Okay, but you get paid to do stuff on Spotify,
Yeah, you still got to pay Spotify
I mean-
for what, like licensing?
right? I
Licensing
mean,
fees?
our podcast makes money
Does it?
every time someone listens to it, it makes money. My point is, and it's not a lot of money, but we
But
don't have
some-
WWE fame.
If we had
Imagine if
3
you
million
had-
people listening,
If you had WWE fame and at 1 cent per listen or whatever Spotify's algorithm is that pays out, how much money they'd be bringing in by putting out a new WWE the Music. And that's the thing, is they're completely overlooking.
quick, Brian, do the math.
Yeah, right.
$2.
Rain Man.
they're
Definitely $2. Definitely.
completely overlooking markets that could make a lot more money for them. And all of that is to make China happy, to make Saudi Arabia happy, and to try to move over. Actually, to be honest, it's trying to ease in on New Japan's turf.
Fuck them all.
That's
That's
exactly
the American way. Fuck them all.
it. Is it really is America? It's American capitalism,
American
As
exceptionalism.
best,
We're
and-
the best.
and
Fuck
and
you
they
all.
should they should embrace that
Yeah.
and go with it. Tell me a
Ain't from
good
around
feud.
here, are you?
But tell me a good feud that's going on right now in WWE.
I'm out.
WWE feud.
Right now that's going on. Matt, you got anything? I know you're still watching.
I would have to say the best feud that I think I see going on right now in the WWE is
Yeah.
probably King Woods and the Usos and Roman Reigns.
So you think that's a good feud?
Best I've seen so far. In the
No,
WWE.
so no.
I mean, so there's not a good feud going on in WWE right now.
You qualified it. It was.
What about
it's not.
AEW? Is there a good feud going on right now in AEW?
The,
Hangman and Omega.
I think that's
Hangman and
the
Omega.
best one in wrestling
I'm
right
liking
now.
the Super Click and Dark
Dark
Order.
Order. They're doing good.
Okay.
Let's see. The way they're building up the TBS title
Mhm.
is doing pretty good.
Now, what is the TBS title? What's
Okay, basically, it's going to be a television title for the women
Okay.
because TNT is a television title for the men.
Okay.
So Rampage will be on TNT, i.e., they'll have their own title, and then Dynamite's going to be on TBS, so they'll have that
Is
title.
that still a thing?
What, TBS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're just trying to not really. They were just trying to differentiate the titles on it, basically.
I
mean, the Inner Circle versus the
Pineapple.
Pineapple Pete. He ain't even wrestling anymore.
Damn, no, it's not even Pinnacle anymore. American Top Team.
Yeah.
Fucking fat face.
is that
Fat face dipshit?
yeah? Matt says no, he can't think of one.
Damn,
I mean, I'm seriously no good feuds going on.
no, I mean, there's like it goes back to what y'all were saying earlier.
Now the Inner
They're phony.
Circle versus the Pinnacle was a really good feud.
Yeah.
But it's already ended. So
But that's what sells. That's what puts asses in seats.
I mean, look what they did with Sting and Hogan. How long was that? A year and a half?
Right.
I don't know, forever, really.
And
Realistically, it's been forever.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it was
This is
what did it do for WCW?
Put it over.
Yeah.
Put it way over.
And
And that's like AEW's got to come up with something.
well, look
because
at the McMahon and
WWE
Austin thing. Remember how long the build
Jesus
up was
Christ,
for it?
that was
7
forever.
years.
They made so much money on that.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. I mean,
The thing where McMahon Shane training Vince, and all this.
McMahon was selling merch. Okay. McMahon.
I still got that DVD.
There were fucking Mr. McMahon shirts being sold at that time.
Now there's still like even the DX. There's still the Vince loves cock shirts that
Right.
sell.
But
It's still sell.
my point is that they're not moving the products like they used to. And that's a fucking shame because they truly could create a marketable product that's putting shit out every freaking week.
Yeah.
That's got stuff going on that people are going to be interested in buying.
I mean, you got stuff week to week that people are like, oh, I'm going to watch that next week to see what happens.
Right.
And then within 2 weeks, a month, it's over.
Yeah,
There's
you,
no
you
long
can't
term.
resolve these things that quick
No, I mean, there's no long-term storytelling like there was,
because they're not thinking that long out.
15, 20 years ago. I mean,
They're going from pay-per-view to pay-per-view.
Matt says there's a lot of matches being done over and over again with the same people. I agree.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I get that was the formula to success in the Attitude Era, but there was a lot more promos and a lot more build up.
backstage
And it wasn't the same
shit.
match. They would have variations of, oh, it's going to be a handicap match.
Yeah,
oh, no,
but
it's,
like,
yeah,
sure, the
oh, no,
overarching,
pinfalls anywhere, whatever.
sure,
holds bar,
the overarching,
cage match.
thing was Austin was going to get to McMahon at some point, but maybe we throw 15 people in the way before
Yeah,
he
he's
gets
got
there.
obstacles to overcome.
And
But back when the Hurt Business split, how many times did you see Cedric Alexander versus Shelton Benjamin before it just got old?
well, Shelton Benjamin gets old real quick to me anyway. I mean, honestly, his best thing was when he was with Kurt Angle.
So him and Charlie Haas.
Yep.
the world's greatest tag team.
That's right.
Self-proclaimed. Damn it, John. Self-proclaimed.
But it is
Trying to get
sad
into that Asian market.
that WWE now has more writers than they've ever had.
And they all
Still-
suck.
They have
shit.
more people in creative than they've ever had. And they're not writing our creative at all.
But then again, you also got to throw in the Vince McMahon thing. Maybe they write a hell of a good show, and Vince McMahon don't like it. Throw it out. We're doing it this way.
So what? There's got to, if you did a good job, something would have lasted. And let's just talk about promos for a second. And I know we're going to run a little longer than we usually do. But when you're cutting a promo, if you're a wrestler, you're cutting a promo. Do you want a scripted promo or do you want something that comes out natural?
Something
Natural.
natural. Give them
Give
bullet
you
points.
some bullet. Like you said. All right,
Right.
Bring up the name of the place. Bring up the opponent. Bring up this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then go for it. I always loved Jericho's thing where he did last week, where he's making fun of what's her name.
Well, undisputed king of the promo is The Rock.
Yeah.
I think that we can all agree on that. You disagree? Who's better?
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Macho Man was terrible at promos.
He was.
I
But he
love
got
it when-
all the points in, though.
I
It
love
was
it
a
when-
rambling mess by the end of it.
But I mean, and then look at like
But he was
Warrior.
into
was-
it. He sold it. He
I
was
kicked
into
down the cockpit door,
Yeah.
turned the
it.
airplane into a tailspin, and you died. It's like,
But
why the hell did you kill Hulk Hogan before WrestleMania 6? Now you don't have an opponent, you dumbass.
it goes right back to the cats, man. It goes right back to Pro Wrestling 101. Those promos matter. Those build those matches. And sure, if it's scripted or organic, Undertaker liked having a scripted promo before he went out. He was not a talker. Okay. He liked having a promo that was pre-wrote before he went out. And if not, Paul Bear was the organic one, the one who could talk on the fly. Right.
It's mostly just that.
What's happened now, because we don't have any of that going on. We don't have the ability to come out and cut a good promo. The best promos I've seen in WWE were from Chris Jericho as of recent, and that's been 2 years at least ago. 4. So I mean, that just says that they're not putting a lot into this right now.
No. I mean, like Brian was saying, Jericho versus America's Top Team a week and a half ago on Dynamite, when he was making fun of Paige Van Zandt, calling Dan Lambert a fat-faced dipshit.
Right.
That was the best part of the show.
Right. No, and promos are always the best part of the show. They've always been the best part of the show.
And then, like, I know it was a heel thing. Y'all don't really think he's as good as a wrestler as he's a talker. But when MJF came out and did that promo with
Harvey?
No, it was Brian Pillman's mother.
Aunt.
And was he was feuding with Pillman, and he was he'd go out there and he insulted his people with his family.
And granted, they were in Cincinnati at the time. But just
right.
Like I said, or like what really got me with this man is like when they had the Brody Lee special when he died, and he goes out there and starts getting in the face of his little son, causing heat, showing his respect, causing heat, and then gets a kendo stick to the head. I'm just like that. That's good Drew Blue heel right there.
MJF and Jericho are the best talkers in the business right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah,
just bar none. I mean, yeah, it just.
And that's the thing, is the two best talkers in the business are not at WWE.
No.
And
I mean, you got Heyman, which Paul Heyman's in a class of his own.
Right. There's not many people. I mean, Paul Heyman is way the hell up there when it comes to being a talker.
But he's not a
wrestler.
Performer.
He could sell water to a man in the ocean.
Yeah.
I mean,
he could.
Well, and it's not a sales pitch.
And
with
he did
Heyman,
no. I saw a video where he did something on the
But
live
he
show
could
talking
do
about him being a wrestler. It was the Street Profits versus the Bloodline, and like he jumped. Paul Heyman takes his jacket off and throws it on top of the desk, jumps up there and hands us, and Jimmy or Jay comes over and tags him. He gets in and runs and falls flat on his face, and the Street Profit gets on and starts punching him, and he rolls out of the ring.
But I mean, look.
And so Paul's not afraid to take bumps.
No,
Don't make fun of himself.
Vince McMahon's not afraid to take bumps.
no, it sells it.
Because you've got to have the bad guy. And look, they've got Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman
Is a great bad guy.
He would be the perfect person to say, hey, guess what? Paul Heyman is now the executive in charge of everything here. He is the boss. If you had Paul Heyman running a quote unquote corporation, could you imagine the storylines you could build out of that?
Hell, if you actually let him.
Yeah.
Going back to something
No,
you said
don't
earlier.
give him a lot of creative. I'm not saying give him a lot of creative control, but I'm saying make him the face. Don't use this. What's the guy that Brock Lesnar?
Adam Pearce.
Yeah, don't use this dick. Use Paul Heyman.
He actually used to be a wrestler too, but he was
Okay, so what? Doesn't matter.
doesn't-
He's not in Paul Heyman's class.
Let's go back to saying what you were saying earlier about Cody. Okay, Cody Rhodes. You say heel turn.
Right.
He is technically the boss there. Do like a Vince thing.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I think that would have been great.
Yeah, he'd be the ultimate bad guy. He could,
you could sell just about anybody on this.
And if not, Tony Khan needs to get his ass up from the table in the back and go out there to the ring and be the Vince McMahon character.
Which Tony has said, though. He's like, I don't want to be in front of the camera.
Well, then
I will
Then you
be
need
if
to
you're in the
avoid
wrong
that.
business.
Appoint someone to be your spokesman or whatever.
Hey,
But you're in the wrong fucking business if you don't want to be in front of the camera.
have him come out there and be like, I may have lost that match to Jericho. That means I could never wrestle for this world title again. You have to have the title on a baby face though. So if Paige wins and they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But I never did say I can't strip you of the title and declare myself the new champion of
Sure. There's ways to go about it.
and then
I run this damn show. You don't.
I have the championship now, Oh, you want to wrestle me for the championship? All right, you're on. You lose. Oh, by the way, that was just a qualifying match for the championship. Now you got to face
Right.
my brother and blah blah. To
Well, but look over. Let's go back to WWE for a minute. If they made Paul Heyman the man, the guy in charge, Paul Heyman is in between what could be the biggest storyline of the next 5 years in wrestling: Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. Sure, Roman Reigns ain't The Rock. He ain't got the mic ability, but guess what? Paul Heyman does. Paul Heyman could run a quote unquote corporation with Roman Reigns at his side and Brock Lesnar being the Austin style character coming after that belt. And Paul Heyman throwing the stop in the way the entire time. And then it gives you the opportunity later for the ultimate heel turn for Brock Lesnar and flipping the tables and making, Roman Reigns the good guy, because you could, Paul Heyman comes out and screws Roman Reigns at a pay-per-view.
I mean, it looked like they was going to there for a minute.
But
he didn't.
It would have been smart.
Yeah.
That makes money.
Like one of y'all said last week, have The Rock come back and wrestle him for the true head of the table.
That was Matt said that last week.
Okay.
But The Rock's already came out. The Rock this week said he really wasn't interested in returning to WWE.
No, he's making plenty of money on the side.
Well, he's got his own production
movies.
company
Yeah,
now.
he's
So I
doing
mean,
movies.
$7.
Is that what it's called? $7?
Yeah, because that's when he started right out of college.
Well,
He had
there you go.
$7 in his pocket, and here we are later.
What, $230 million in
Something
net
like
worth?
that.
I've
He's
seen.
like the most paid actor in Hollywood.
Right. But it's still, there are places you could go in WWE and make the product palatable and make it good.
It's sad that you have to say you have to make it palatable.
Well, it's
Now,
unwatchable right now.
John used to speak
I know, that says
praises of NXT when it first came out.
Not anymore.
Yeah. I tried to
Unwatchable.
watch it last year sometime. I flipped over, started watching a match, and I was like, I'm done with the TV. I'm just not even going to watch
And
this.
ever since, and here we go back to when AEW came out, they
Right.
put NXT on Wednesdays. It automatically went to shit because AEW was the new thing. AEW was what was hip, what was cool, what was
Right.
hot. NXT just got kind of shoved to the back burner, and then McMahon's like, okay, I'm going to revamp NXT. Now it's NXT 2.0. Seriously, it's a fucking variety show. It's not wrestling.
right. It's not good.
And no,
Now, back when, Robert Roode, Drew McIntyre,
Shinsuke. I mean,
all them
shit,
people,
it's-
Kevin
yeah,
Owens,
Undisputed Era.
was on NXT. It was decent. I still didn't really watch it, but it had some deep, big-ish names
Right.
over there. Now I don't. The only one in NXT right now I know of that I like is probably Tommaso Ciampa.
Matt, if you were building a feud, who would you put in it? I know you said last week The Rock, but he said no. If you were going to build a feud, do you like our idea? Because I personally think that there's got to be something done to change up where we're at, because it's not a good place that we find ourselves in the wrestling business right now. So you need to go.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
I mean,
John-
something's got to give.
John's taking medicine or something over there. He's checking.
Check it twice.
But yeah, I think that's where we're at, is that it's just, Matt said he agrees that right now they've got to change something, because it's not a good, first off,
It sucks.
the product sucks.
Yeah.
Just
And
say it. It sucks.
It does. I'm
fucking
willing.
sucks.
I'm the first person to say that. I'll be the first to admit that what they've got going on sucks.
It's shit. It's not even good shit. It's just shitty shit.
I listened to on YouTube what's called the Raw After Show the other night. Nobody on it talked about anything that took place on Raw.
Damn.
That's how bad Raw is right now.
I mean, when it comes to either Raw or SmackDown, I don't even watch it. I DVR the shit and
I
whether it be
watch
3
Raw
hours,
just
2
because
hours.
it's on Monday. I don't watch SmackDown because I'm busy doing a other show,
Right.
and
We do Fat, Bald, and White on
mhm.
Friday night.
Whore.
But no, I'm just it to me it's it's time for them to change things up.
Yeah.
And they've got to do something, or they're going to harm. They're going to harm the brand for the long time to come. Because right now we're stuck in
If not, kill
1980s
it.
pro wrestling.
If not, kill it.
And I keep hoping that AEW is going to be the thing that puts the spurs in the side of McMahon, that makes him say, "Okay, I got to do something."
He's tapped out.
I think that's the issue.
Yeah,
He's checked out. He might as well have released himself from that contract. He might as well have. I mean, he's useless.
And that's sad because this is the man who created so much entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's already.
It's like
spent.
saying Merv Griffin sucks, you know.
He's spent.
For-
He's out of ideas. He's done. He's had it.
and is it just pride? He won't turn it over to somebody else
Yes.
and say, "Run this."
halfway that, and it's the same way.
I mean, it's
I
his
wanna-
baby.
I mean,
Yeah.
didn't he have to take it away from his dad?
I want to
did.
liken him
Exactly.
to
Shane's going to have to rip it away from him.
Who was the FBI? J. Edgar Hoover.
Right,
J. Edgar Hoover died the night after work.
right.
McMahon's going to end up doing that. He's going to work the day, go home.
I think you're right.
Guys, the gym,
Shane
that
and
man
Stephanie
lives
are
in the
just
gym,
going to have to
apparently.
take it away from him.
Do it.
Should or die in the gym because that man apparently lives in the gym.
Yeah.
I
Dad used to sleep
personally,
like 4 hours a night.
yeah, he
3 o'clock
sleeps.
workouts.
He says he sleeps 2 hours a day.
I think it would be a better show with Shane in charge.
I don't
Right.
know. I mean, I would like to think that Shane McMahon could do a better job because I've
They do a
seen.
better job than Stephanie.
Well, that's the thing is, okay. Stephanie is done awful. What is she? COO?
CFO, I think.
No, that's financial officer. She's not that.
Triple H is cuckoo.
Cuckoo.
He is a cuckoo.
Is that what it's called?
No, it's R-Truth. I remember a promo a couple of years ago. He's like, Triple H, you're the COO. What's that spell? Coo. Double that. That's cuckoo. That means
Okay.
you're cuckoo.
So
give me a
Triple
second,
H-
I'll see what-
R-Truth is an underused talent.
Yeah.
But again, he's a comedy talent.
Yeah, but he's still a good wrestler. though.
He's a fine wrestler, but he's a comedy talent. So I mean, you know,
635, like
Chief Brand Officer. is what
chief
Stephanie
brand
is.
officer,
24/7.
and she's killing the
She might as well
brand.
be good
Does-
goodwill fucking.
Does
ambassador.
Shane even have any dealings
Shane's
with?
not even there anymore. He's like,
It's
"Fuck
so
this,
bad
I'm
that
done."
He comes back every once in a while. But
And that's the thing is that I mean, you were grooming the perfect person to hand
Sure.
things over to,
Yeah,
and you set yourself up.
natural.
You set yourself up for a great storyline of
Transition
them battling.
here, son, or
No, of them
here,
battling for control. I mean, go back. You could have
Yeah,
used it as like
that
a feudal war
son.
field,
Infighting in
basically,
the corporation,
Right.
Hostile takeover,
Right. and they fucked it up, and that's
well,
just
they
where
did
they're
that
at.
with the WCW take.
Yeah, that damn invasion thing 20 years ago. They fucked that up royally.
Could have done something again. Learn from your mistakes, move forward, do something else. And
You
that's
can only miss so many opportunities.
what in wrestling you can fuck up as much as you want, but you need to learn from it when you do it again.
They're not learning from it.
They're not. They're really not. I mean,
They're blowing it at every turn.
it's just like
They're
like
blowing
we
it more
discussed
than
last week.
than a whore on Fleet
The
Street.
NWO is a remake of something that was done in New Japan.
Mhm. And then
Okay,
the Bullet Club's remake of the NWO.
right,
Down to the damn music.
right. But
And
my
Too Sweet.
yeah, my point is you can redo things. You just need to learn from the mistakes that you made when you did it
Mhm.
the first time and fucked it up. Don't go that same route. And McMahon seems to be saying, "Oh well, I'll fuck it up even more this time." And that's
I
just
know
where,
what's best.
right. Anyway, that's it for us with the Macho Wrestling Show. We will be back next week, and we will be discussing next week the downfall of WCW. Particularly, Matt wanted us to talk about the finger poke of doom. We're going to talk about that. I've been doing some research on that, and we're going to talk about that and some other. I got like 6 topics we're
And
going to
Vince
discuss.
Russo.
Russo, all the fun shit. We'll be back next week.